everyone. Please take your seats. We will start the conference in a minute. Good morning. I would like to welcome everyone at the first edition of the Sustainability Forum, organized in Romania with the support of the Department of Sustainable Development in Romania. My name is Mátyus Enikő. I'm representing the Association of Business Incubator in the country, and I will be your host at the first part of the event. We are all here to cooperate. We are all here to stimulate the collaboration between our regions, between our organizations. Our activity is in line with the sustainable development principles, but more than that, we are the stakeholders who are generating, let's say, the future, which should be a more sustainable one, where the triple helix is together. And as we see today, we have decision makers, we have policy makers, we have universities, we have cluster management entities here. So we are the ones who are trying to make a difference. Welcome, difference makers. This place was not chosen accidentally. This is a historic heritage. The name of this building is Roznovanu Palace. And this place hosts the Romanian government during the First World War. And I would like to thank for this partnership for the municipality of Iași, and I would like to invite Mr. Chirica, the mayor of the city.
Mulțumesc foarte mult. Mulțumesc, doamnă, mulțumesc tuturor. Domnule ministru Borbeli, domnule ministru secretar de stat din cadrul Ministerului Economiei, stimați invitați, e o mare bucurie să fim aici împreună. Salutăm pe toți cei prezenți. O temă foarte provocatoare pentru întreaga țară și, sigur, pentru întreaga Europa, mai ales pe partea de sud-est. Întâmplarea pozitivă face că am reușit să vizităm într-o delegație tot pe teme economice și nu numai partea de sud-est a Europei. Recent găsim foarte multe oportunități în acea zonă a Europei și mult mai, să spunem, sustenabile din mai multe privințe, în special cel istoric și social cu România, decât alte părți ale Europei și va trebui să le exploatăm cât se poate de corect. De asemenea, salut prezența, așa cum spuneam la început, a domnului ministru Borbeli, care nu vine pentru prima dată în acest an la Iași, tocmai pentru a susține demersul lui acestui departament de stat și pentru a ne putea coagula toate energiile autorităților locale și centrale în domeniul unei dezvoltări sau într-o temă a unei dezvoltări sustenabile a întregii Românii. Sigur, oportunitățile sunt cele pe care reușim noi să le întrevedem și să le dezvoltăm. Ca autoritate publică locală, ca primar, cred într-o dezvoltare sustenabilă a municipiului Iași și a întregii regiuni de nord-est. Sigur, într-o abordare mult mai realistă față de nou context geopolitic, a multiplelor crize în care ne aflăm în momentul de față, inclusiv a celei legate de energie, într-o abordare mai realistă între capacitățile tehnologice pe care Europa și lumea le oferă în momentul de față în ceea ce privește dezvoltarea sustenabilă și puterea de înțelegere a fiecărei comunități și, de ce nu, în posibilitatea noastră de a ne face mai bine înțeleși în fața comunităților pe care le reprezentăm. De asemenea, vreau să-i mulțumesc și lui Marius Alexa că a ales municipiul Iași ca și gazdă și sala Primăriei Municipiului Iași, a municipiului în general, Palatul Roznovan, într-adevăr, o sală cu un istoric deosebit, mai ales legat de primul război mondial. Pe data de 15 octombrie am sărbătorit și încoronarea regelui Ferdinand, să spunem, ultima etapă din crearea României Mari. Ne-a onorat foarte mult și acest lucru, că am putut fi gazdă și pentru acel eveniment și, sigur, vă doresc o ședere cât mai frumoasă la Iași, să vă simțiți ca acasă și concluziile acestui forum să fie de folos pentru întreaga țară. Mulțumim foarte mult. Domnule ministru, aveți cuvântul.
Thank you very much for the mayor of the city. As I mentioned at the beginning, this event's main partner is the Department of Sustainable Development of Romania, which is a very special organization within the Romanian government. And in 2021, they received the United Nations Award for Innovation in Public Service at the United Public Service Forum Gala in Dubai. I think this award is expressing their hard work, their ambitions and enthusiasm for sustainable development, and also I think that their activity, it's upscaling from a national level to an international level. As we can see today, we have an international conference here. Maybe 30% of the participants are from abroad, which is, I think, it's a good achievement. I would like to invite Mr. Borbei Laszlo, State Councillor, on behalf of the department, to welcome and to launch this forum.
Thank you very much. It's okay. You can hear me, yes? It's better to see you, yes? And thank you very much. It's a privilege and an honor for me to be here. And it's incredible that we are here, yes? After 2 years of pandemic, we have this horrible war near us, and we are here to do more for sustainable development. We are like a family. There are more than 150 representatives from more than 10 countries. It's unbelievable, because we want a better world. And that's why, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice President of the County Council, dear colleagues from the government of Romania, dear mayors here, different institutions. Thank you very much, Umut, and your colleagues from the Southeast European, very important regional body, and that's why we link together what we are doing in Romania, what you are doing in your country, and what we try to do on this part of Europe, Southeast European part of Europe. I don't know what to say, because there are a lot of very important issues here regarding in this moment in which stage we are on the sustainable development and what we can do together. I remember, because, you know, based on my experience, I was for 1 year in 2010 a chair of United Nations Commission CSD19 on sustainable development or environment. And I realized how important it is to hear each other, to have patience, and to discuss based on important declaration at the level of UN. And I realized, wow, this is something very important to have a holistic governments and regional cooperation. What we can do, and not just about money. We are not Foreign Affairs Committee in the Romanian Parliament and a member in the Interparliamentary Union. We started to organize regional meeting on parliamentarian level from this part of Western Balkan, Caucasus, and some countries from Central and Eastern Europe. It was amazing how, even in these days, I receive phone calls from my colleagues from this part, and they say to me, Mr. Borbe, wow, now I am leader in some local community or at the parliament or at the government on this, because they realized on that time, in 2013-14, before Agenda 2030, it was before Agenda 2030, how to think a little bit more coherent about our future life. Because this is the main issue. How we are thinking, of course, it's Madame Brundtland in 1987 for the first definition of the sustainable, to think and to make decisions for the next generations, yes, to have a better life. How we are doing this? This is the main question. And at the department, I believe that since 2017, we established this department, first of all with about not more than 8 people. Now we are 20, 24. Wow. We are a very important team, I hope, because based on our vision, we have a new strategy since 2018. We have a new action plan since this year until 2030. It's like a menu, you know. We offer to the politicians what they have to do in different parts. We have a new strategy on circular economy. It's the 18th country, Romania, from European Union. We have now a strategy. Now we start immediately to have an action plan on circular economy. But circular economy is a very complicated issue. But we have to split and to look on local communities, because they are here also from different parts of Romania, mayors, and you will have the opportunity, the local communities, the local councils, the county councils, if they have good initiative in biomass, in some other issues, they can succeed. They can do more for the community. And that's why our department, in this moment, we have a huge challenge, because Romania, and not just Romania, the countries, especially from European Union, now they doubled the financial background for the coming period. We have double amount of the money. How we spend this, about almost 100 billion euro in 7 years? How we will spend it? And on the level of department, we were thinking what we can do. And also in this recovery plan. And we invent, yes, a new institution in Romania. And just come back, and I will finish in 5 minutes, okay? Aniko, in 5 minutes I will finish my speech. But I have, you know, the opportunity to say it. In this moment, we have in Romania, I hope, the interinstitutional framework, how we function regarding why. We have interdepartmental committee, which is the government of Romania, yes? We met 3 times, and for 4 times we will meet as soon as possible. The government of Romania. We are near the Prime Minister's office, the department. So the Prime Minister, on the last meeting, they say, okay, Mr. Minister, Madam Minister, you have to do this, this, this. It's important, yes, because it's the Prime Minister. And we are the department on the level of State Councillor, and we have this political body. Romania was the first parliament which decided in consensus, a very important political declaration regarding Agenda 2030 in 2016. We were the first from all the parliaments of interparliamentary union, because you need political willingness. You need the politicians near you. Otherwise, it will be a very beautiful, theoretical strategy or something like this without put in place. We have consultative council. A body was established 1.5 years ago with 34 wonderful people. We have here Professor Purica and others here to be part of this event. Why? Because they are from academia, from those people who are very prepared on sustainable development. And they are part of us. They are near us at the government. We fulfilled with them the indicators, the data, because without data you cannot monitor, you cannot prove that in 17 SDGs and 169 targets in which stage we are. We have an inventory in 2020 in which stage we are with all the data on that time what we were able to have it. Now we have 99 primary indicators and 243 secondary and thirdly indicators. So from the next year we will put on the table of the government in which stage we are, in different our conceptual document, like our reform plan, our European semester, and our recovery plan, to have this background. And thirdly, we have the Coalition for Sustainable Romania, which is formed by more than 120 bodies, from private sector, from NGOs, partners, official partners, because the second most important challenge for us was in 2017, how we will start a movement on the level of society, how we will have partners from different, like you, from different parts of the society to be partners. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have network. We have data. More than 3,000 of wonderful people who are partners of us, and you will be, I hope, you will be partners of us for the coming period. And finally, finally, we have a new job in Romania. The only country in European Union, the only country, as I know, that we have this job, expert in sustainable development. And not just we have this job, but at the recovery plan, we have the financial background to prepare 2,000 experts until 2026. We will have 2,000 experts trained by post-university and training. We have a cluster of 9 universities because 80% from these experts will be at the local level. Why? Because the local communities, they are the most important, the more close to the citizens. 80%. We need now the feedback from the county councils, from the local councils, what they need to have, because we'll be not just expert, generally speaking, we'll be specialized in different. We will have a discussion with these 9 universities because they have to put in curricula. And how amazing is that we started in 2018 to have 2 high-level meetings with all the rectors of all universities in Romania. We have now a map in which university, how many faculties they prepared now experts, and how many they have in curricula, and now it's a huge movement to introduce, because this is autonomy. If they don't want, we cannot force them to introduce sustainable development like, you know, in curricula. But they are in favor. They are in favor to introduce and to prepare in Iași also, in other places, for those who will be trained. They will have now to go to Bucharest, because now we have here a very strong university town, so it's one of the most strongest part of Romania regarding universities. So we will create a center of excellence, which is also unique in this part of Europe for sure. Center of excellence who will be for these experts to prepare them, for preparing studies, analyses for the policymakers, and thirdly, we will launch in 2 or 3 weeks a platform, which is also unique, a platform which we prepared from 2 years ago, we started, and this is an institutional memory of sustainable development, Eurostat reports, our barometers in each month, we have 55 barometers, how the citizens' opinion regarding sustainability, and all your materials or other background documents regarding sustainability will be a one-stop shop. This is very fancy to say it, yes, one-stop shop, not just one-stop shop, to stop and to hear and to listen, okay? So I hope that we are prepared for 2030 in this moment, our department. We are regionally recognized. Last year we received from the UN the big award of UN, which was for one country in Europe. And why Romania? Why? This is very interesting. Because of the efficiency of implementation of Agenda 2030 in public administration, and because of innovative tools to have this linkage with you, with different parts of the society. So I wish you for these 2 days very fruitful discussions. It's amazing to have you here. I hope that you will visit also this wonderful town and the area of Moldavia. You know, Romania is one of the most beautiful...
And measuring is a thing. So maybe most of the countries, most of the organizations are working on understanding the status quo of sustainability on their regions, but now we should start to measure and implement the action plans. And of course, it is a priority, and it's not just about money, but economic growth. It is a primary objective, of course, with positive social impact, not harming the environment. So this is why for us it was very important to invite the representative of the Ministry of Economy, and we are very happy that the State Secretary can attend this meeting. I would like to invite Mr. Ciui to take the word.
Thank you. Domnule primar, domnule consilier de stat, doamnelor și domnilor, bună dimineața! În numele Ministerului Economiei, vă mulțumesc pentru invitația de a participa la Forumul de Sustenabilitate, dezvoltarea relațiilor economice multilaterale în sud-estul Europei și în regiunea Dunării în contextul dezvoltării durabile. Salut inițierea și organizarea evenimentului de către Asociația Incubatoarelor și Centrelor de Afaceri din România și Departamentul de Dezvoltare Durabilă din cadrul Secretariatului General al Guvernului. Este evident faptul că țara noastră a făcut pași importanți în implementarea obiectivelor pe care le-a asumat, obiective structurate pe 3 piloni generali ai dezvoltării durabile: economic, social și de mediu. În numele decidenților din cadrul Ministerului pe care îl reprezint, astăzi vă asigur că susținem în mod activ activitățile destinate implementării Strategiei Naționale de dezvoltare durabilă a României și, implicit, tranziția către o societate sustenabilă. Ministerul Economiei este implicat în diverse proiecte de tip Interreg, prin care și proiectul Danube Bio, ecosisteme participative pentru stimularea revitalizării cooperării rural-urban, prin guvernarea bioeconomiei circulare în regiunea Dunării. Iar participarea la acest eveniment urmărește obiectivul principal al proiectului, care este abordarea în mod activ a schimbărilor demografice prin revitalizarea zonelor rurale, folosind cooperarea participativă la mai multe niveluri de guvernare. În cadrul programului de cooperare teritorială Interreg Danube VB, începând cu data de 29/6/2020, Comisia Europeană a aprobat finanțarea proiectului în cadrul Ministerului Economiei, este membru partener în cadrul consorțiului proiectului, asigurând derularea activităților alături de ceilalți parteneri. 19 parteneri de proiect, 7 parteneri asociați din 9 state membre ale Uniunii Europene și unul în curs de ardelare. Proiectul își propune de asemenea să realizeze o platformă comună, a cărei funcționare va continua după finalizarea acestuia. Bioeconomia circulară va fi folosită ca sistem de regenerare care va pune accentul pe zonele rurale și va reduce diferențele printr-o cooperare reînnoită rural-urban. Totodată, în cadrul Ministerului Economiei se derulează proiectul Creșterea capacității administrative a Ministerului Economiei în vederea monitorizării, evaluării și coordonării politicilor durabile din domeniul competitivității economice. Obiectivul principal fiind elaborarea strategiei naționale de competitivitate pe 2021-2027, dar și extinderea accesibilității datelor furnizate de Atlasul economic al României către mediul extern. Într-un demers normal de continuitate, Ministerul Economiei a elaborat o nouă strategie națională de competitivitate, plecând de la concluziile rezultate după perioada 2015-2020, acoperită de primul exercițiu strategic SNC 2015-2020, care necesită o viziune de ansamblu, față de care orice măsură punctuală de susținere a mediului economic ar fi lipsită de eficacitate din punct de vedere al competitivității economice naționale. Experții Ministerului Economiei, prezenți aici, pe parcursul derulării lucrărilor forumului, vor detalia și prezenta implicațiile la nivel de administrație publică centrală. Din punct de vedere, evenimentul de azi reprezintă o oportunitate excelentă de împărtășire a experienței între mai multe proiecte de cooperare internațională, care va conduce către dezvoltarea relațiilor economice multilaterale în contextul dezvoltării durabile. Permiteți-mi să felicit toți partenerii care și-au dat concursul pentru organizarea acestui eveniment complex și multidisciplinar, să urez succes participanților la mesele rotunde, ateliere și discuțiile de grup, despre care am certitudinea că vor genera know-how și bune practici. Vă mulțumesc!
Let me translate some main messages from this speech. The Ministry of Economy is in Romania is a partner of sustainable development and multilateral cooperation. You can see this through the projects he is involved. The ministry is involved, like Interreg Danube, Go Danubio. You can see some promotional materials on your chairs about this project, which is about cooperation between rural and urban areas, enhancing the capacity of these areas for sustainable communities. The national competitiveness strategy takes in consideration all the elements, 3 key principles of sustainable development, of course, and the Ministry of Economy in Romania is supporting all kinds of initiatives which contribute to a greener future. And yeah, going further, I think city councils, as Mr. Borbély also mentioned, the role of these county councils are very important. Then they can be enablers on local level for this transition, creating sustainable communities, preserving the value of the rural areas where we don't have to reinvent sustainability. They have sustainability, they act sustainable, they live sustainable, and maybe it's our job or the job of policymakers as a county council to preserve, to maintain this, and maybe teach the people from urban areas who forgot this daily basis acts to reintegrate in their life. I checked the county strategy. 94 times you are mentioning sustainability in a very great context, and if I can highlight just one priority, I would highlight the sustainable tourism development, which is a priority for the county. I would like to invite the Vice President of the City Council, Mr. Dango, to share their thoughts.
Thank you. As I've been instructed, I'll try to develop my speech in English. So, dear Mr. Minister Borbély László, Mr. State Secretary Chui, Mr. Director Asande, Mr. Mayor Chirica, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the organizers for this initiative that brings together representatives from all domains in different countries in Europe. It is a great opportunity to exchange key information on the development of multilateral economic relations, to communicate and connect with a view to sustainable development. This forum is not only important, but also necessary in the context of 2030 Agenda and the European Green Deal. I hope this event will help participants to find a way to reconcile economy, social life, and environment, ideas to rethink the economic model to face the challenges of the present. On this occasion, I would like to express the full support and commitment of Iași County Council for the sustainable development of the county. Iași County Council is among the first Romanian local authorities to have approved a policy paper on localizing 4 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, CDGs. On the other hand, our strategy encourages partnership among all local and regional actors, local public administration, the private sector, education, NGOs, of course the citizens, for a sustainable development of the community. One of our priorities is encouraging economy, and thus we are working to launch a new business platform in Iași County, Iași Industrial Park, with specific incentives that will allow companies to develop their activity within relevant areas, to have access to infrastructure required for performing economic activities. At the same time, we intend to create at least 2 more industrial parks in different parts of the county. I would like to draw your attention to the approval of Romania's national strategy on circular economy this year in September, on 27th, I think it was in official monitor. Strategy that set up the framework to turn from linear economy model to a circular one. And the Iași County Council is already preparing for this transition in programming period 21-27. It is important to keep in mind that the evolution of economic and social capital cannot be broken up from the impact that human activity has on the natural environment. In the previous programming period, Iași County Council implemented the second phase of Iași integrated waste management system to increase life and environment quality standards in Iași County and to develop a sustainable waste management system. As a follow-up, we will apply for European funding for a project aiming at the transition to the circular economy, complying to the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 Agenda, the climate global objectives, as well as the principle of the European Green Deal. Wishing you all a pleasant and successful time at this forum. I reiterate our support to all participants for a collaboration to achieve economic progress while protecting the environment and to be part in joint development projects for a competitive, sustainable economy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Danga. I think you mentioned several very important aspects and actions which are all welcomed, and I think these topics will be detailed during the day. You will see that other countries and organizations, NGOs, have great experience in waste management, for instance. And now I will give the floor to the Director of Northeast Development, Regional Development Agency's Director. This agency, it's maybe one of the most active in Romania. At the level of clusterization, they are supporting, they initiated the cluster in the region. They initiated an innovative hub, a co-working space, an incubator in the region. They are participating in international projects, and they are partners of many of you today. And also they are managing two very important instruments. One is the Regional Smart Specialization Strategy, and they are also managing the most important regional financing tool, which is the Regional Operational Program. I would like to invite the director of this organization to share his ideas and thoughts.
Mulțumesc, voi vorbi în română. Mulțumesc pentru invitație. Mi se pare un eveniment important, fie și dacă ne gândim la două cifre. Cred că cu toții ați văzut că în 28 iulie omenirea a consumat resursele pe care le poate genera într-un an. Deci, într-o jumătate de an am consumat resursele pe care le poate genera Pământul într-un an. A doua cifră, din informațiile mele, la nivel global, doar 9% din economie este circulară, iar la nivelul Europei 14%. Sustenabilitatea înseamnă capacitatea de a exista constant. În acest ritm, probabil că într-un interval scurt de timp nu vom mai avea capacitatea de a exista. Și atunci, sustenabilitatea, dezvoltarea durabilă sunt lucruri cruciale pentru viitorul nostru. Cred că cel puțin 3 aspecte contribuie la a fi sustenabili. Cred că sustenabilitatea înseamnă întâi educație și formare pe parcursul vieții. De asemenea, cred că sustenabilitatea înseamnă inovare și sustenabilitatea înseamnă și bună organizare. Mulțumesc pentru prezentarea pe care ați făcut-o agenției noastre. Suntem, într-adevăr, foarte implicați în acest proces. Și aș vrea să vă dau câteva exemple. În materie de educație și de formare, noi gestionăm programe de finanțare europeană. Suntem implicați în programul operațional regional și vom gestiona programul regional în următoarea perioadă. Acolo avem componente de eficiență energetică și mai nou există un concept european, Bauhaus, să construim sustenabil și frumos. Oare cât de mult suntem pregătiți să facem asta? Mi-a plăcut ce a spus domnul primar, că trebuie să fim realiști în abordare și ce a spus domnul Borbeli, că nu e vorba numai de bani. E foarte adevărat. Trebuie să fim realiști și nu e vorba numai de bani, dar trebuie să privim realitatea până în străfundul ei. Dacă ne uităm la alte date și cifre, vom vedea că, din păcate, România este pe ultimul loc în materie de inovare.
Presentations for you, 10-15 minutes presentations, and we would like to involve you. As every conference, to be honest, every moderator is saying, please be interactive, please put questions, please talk with us. Yeah, we would like to have a discussion and to somehow this meeting in Romania, in Iași, to be more about interacting with each other and not to be just another conference. I would like to ask our plenary speakers, keynote speakers of the day, to take a seat in the front. Mr. Borna, please. Mr. Umut Ergezer, Mr. Ionuț Burică, and Mrs. Anca Podrumaru. And until my colleagues come with this name tags, I would like to share with you some logistic aspects. We are starting this plenary session approximately 1.5 hours. After that, we will have a coffee break, a networking coffee break, and then we will start a very long session of policy roundtable, where we have questions and not presentations for our speakers, and after that we will have the lunch. Please scan the QR code from the entrance to have the final agenda. And yes, can we start? Okay, good. As a first speaker of the plenary session, we will listen to the message of Ms. Ulla Engelmann. She is the head of unit of Industrial Forum, Alliances and Clusters within the European Commission. She will share her message in an audio-visual material, as she cannot attend the event today. I will ask my colleagues to help me.
Those use increase strategic independence regarding technologies and raw materials use. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, energy security are the most pressing issues for the European economy and industry. The supply disruption and the price increases of energy and raw material clearly suggest that we need to mitigate our dependencies urgently. Actions to reduce energy use, boost renewable energy production, diversify energy imports, and keep energy affordable both for households and industry are at the forefront of the EU agenda. The Repower EU and the Winter Preparedness Package are the key European Commission initiatives in this respect. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, also announced new important measures for increased resilience at her State of the Union speech in September. The Single Market Emergency Instrument consists of measures to improve the EU's response to emergencies like the COVID-19 pandemic, from contingency planning to vigilance and emergency mode. The Commission will soon put forward an SME relief package that will make it easier for SMEs to do their business in Europe and facilitate access to finance and skills. The European Critical Raw Materials Act will allow building up strategic reserves where supply is at risk. I want to argue that achieving sustainable development goals successfully requires close cooperation between manufacturers, SMEs, entrepreneurs, R&D actors, business support organizations, and all levels of government. And therefore, cooperation is in the DNA of clusters. All these actors need to collaborate long-term, closely and strategically with each other, and share and pool knowledge and other resources. Collaboration is specifically important for innovative SMEs that often have difficulties in finding the right financings and partners. The European Commission has a number of initiatives that create and operate or support such existing collaborative networks, structures and alliances. Just a few examples. The Industrial Forum is the expert group set up to support the Commission, Member States and industry about the implementation of the EU industrial policy and strategy. And it's also tasked to look at the transition of industry and to work on the transition pathways which are being used to support our European industrial ecosystems. The transition pathway for tourism ecosystem was published in February. Work is ongoing in other ecosystems, mobility, construction. Soon will be published the one on the proximity and social economy ecosystem. A number of EU industrial alliances work towards boosting investments and market in critical areas to increase sustainability and the clean energy transition. For example, the European Battery Alliance, Hydrogen Alliance, Low Carbon Fuels, Zero Emission Aviation Alliances. Industrial clusters are excellent vehicles for companies to collaborate with their wider local ecosystem. They boost their members' performance in terms of growth, competitiveness and innovation. Equally importantly, they are effective facilitators of new business models and value chains that underpin sustainable development. And we have on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform 250 green tech clusters. They work on producing innovative green goods, services and technologies. The trust-based cooperation they create amongst their members and with each other represents an excellent basis for facilitating the green transition. Euroclusters is a new comprehensive cluster funding program, and it brings together cluster organizations and other actors to help solving particular issues in the EU industrial ecosystem. There are 42 million to finance 30 projects, and their selected projects started work in September this year. We also organize business matchmaking events for clusters and companies, and some are even taking still place this year, events on agri-food, solar and raw materials. So please watch out on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. They will be announced. We also have ongoing cluster matchmaking event in Singapore right now in October, and our initiative Clusters Meets Region is a series of 15 workshops which are being held between 22 and 23, where we want to foster the dialogue. And I also would want to point out for you that we have EU cluster talks, which is another action that informs the community about the most pressing industrial policy issue. And this takes place every 2 weeks, and you're invited to subscribe to it. And I would also like to mention the Enterprise Europe Network, which actively supports European SMEs in their green transition. And they have a network of sustainability advisors whose job is to give advice and guidance on the green transition to the SMEs. So I want to encourage you to use and participate in these instruments and initiatives. And with this, I hope that will help to make the transition easier towards sustainability, that it can have trust that this conference will help you to develop further this road on strengthening going to sustainability. And I wish you a good discussion and networking. Thank you.
The forum is strongly inspired by the Southeast European Strategy 2030, which has 3 main dimensions: people, prosperity, people, and partnerships. And we are very glad that we have the coordinator of this strategy here today, who will present how they managing the implementation of this strategy, which are the instruments, who are the members, and what is the vision of this initiative. I will invite Mr. Umut Ergezer, the coordinator of this strategy and also senior economic policy analyst, to have his presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. If I have, so I can walk through together with the audience my presentation, but first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Umut Ergezer. I'm working for the Regional Cooperation Council Secretariat based in Sarajevo. Very short, the Regional Cooperation Council is the operational arm of Southeast Europe cooperation process, which 13 economies of Southeast Europe established in 2008, including Romania, but also for other member states in Southeast Europe, from Greece to Slovenia, Croatia, Bulgaria, Western Balkan 6 economies, and Turkey and Moldova. So this is actually, according to our definition, Southeast Europe. And Regional Cooperation Council received the mandate to prepare the Strategy 2030 in 2019 during the SCCP chairmanship of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Thereafter, Regional Cooperation Council Secretariat prepared a concept which all 13 economies agreed with. And in 2021, during the chairmanship of Turkey in Antalya, during the summit, all 13 countries, heads of government and state, adopted the strategy. Now we are in the second year of implementation. Last year, during the chairmanship of Greece, we established all the steering structures and the main cycles of the SC 2030 strategy. And this year, we are under the chairmanship of Montenegro. I'm very much happy that the representatives of former chairs also are with us, and you may also hear from them their perspectives. And Romania is very supporting to this strategy. That's why I should thank, first of all, State Councillor Mr. Borbeli, who is also the national coordinator of AC 2030 strategy on behalf of Romania. But also I would like to extend our sincere gratitude City of Iași and all the organizers inviting us and to give the opportunity to present the strategy to this distinguished audience of Southeast Europe. So if you allow me, I will shortly present you the main objectives of our strategy and to focus on what are the main dynamics in sustainable development in Southeast Europe. So the strategy main objective is to reach regionally sustainable economic growth. So it's a regional strategy on sustainable development goals. So to reduce poverty and inequality, to improve social inclusion, to decelerate depopulation through enhancing quality of life, and to accelerate green and digital transition, as well as to empower women. So I will also focus mainly these depopulation trends of our region, which may create significant socio-economic challenges for all countries in Southeast Europe. The strategy is a joint call for action to leave no one behind. So it foresees different actions of solidarity between 13 economies. And it has 3 different pillars: prosperity, people, peace and partnership, under 13 different priorities and 78 actions. It's a living document. It will be updated every 2 years. So it's not a document carved in stone. So all this strategy is built upon the national strategies of 13 economies on sustainable development. And we are just working on the joint priorities which could be justifiable to take regional actions. So that's why the first methodological principle that we applied is bottom-up. It's not a top-down document. We are not in RCC to impose anything on the countries. Countries are telling us what are their priorities to their national strategies. We discuss with them what could be done at the regional level, and then they accept it. And after that, it became a priority. So we are not at the RCC to say anything unless the countries are telling us to do. That's why today, but our children's life. And I think some of us have kids. So our main concern is the quality of their education. But statistically, the quality of our education, primary, secondary education, is much lower than our Western peers, so to say. And when we check the quality and access to health, I can tell you that Southeast Europeans live 3 years less than Western Europeans. 3 years less. So we will die sooner than the Western Europeans. So with all the things concerned, access to justice, how, let's say, our households also are benefiting from those environmental services. All in all, it's a complementary package which is determining the quality of our lives. And then peace and partnership. There are definitely different priorities, but as I said in the beginning, that this is a regional strategy. Many priorities under peace and partnership are being dealt at the national level. At the regional level, 13 countries agreed to implement smartly this strategy and to improve the aid effectiveness. Because we will discuss with you also how our, let's say, aid providers, I mean, take it in a bigger sense. I'm not referring only to official development assistance. Let's think of funds which Romania is receiving from European Union also. Which areas that these funds are going and which areas that our economies are suffering. We will be discussing this at least from the official development assistance point of view. Whether they are hitting the target or not, or whether there are some sectors are oversighted. And we will be discussing also within this third pillar whether our national budgets are responsive enough to the sustainable development goals or not. And then there are cross-cutting areas like poverty and inequalities, which is an important issue I think we all think of very extensively, together with digital and green transition, in order to ensure these two transitions as just as possible to include all the social subgroups, together with public-private partnership. So the strategy was prepared during the COVID time, and we are going to update it because we have new challenges. Unfortunately, because of the war in Ukraine, food security, dependency on fertilizers, which are affecting, as you may know, the prices of food. Not only the food, but also the energy inflation that we are, almost all countries are affected. On the left-hand side, you see the prices of natural gas, and on the right-hand side, you see the food inflation globally. And definitely, I may prepare similar graphs with the similar increases for the region as well. So, according to the latest implementation report of the strategy, last year was positive, that our region grew by 9%. But I will now discuss with you whether the GDP growth is an appropriate measurement tool or not. I mean, for sustainable development. I mean, many of us maybe not know that there was a commission established by this very famous economist, Joseph Stiglitz, together with different academicians and the heads of international organizations. That report suggested that GDP growth is not a good measuring indicator, that it should be more household level measurement. And then we will discuss in Southeast Europe together with all countries, I mean, what type of indicators which we should use in order to have much more relevant indicators to measure the socio-economic challenges and sustainable development goals perspectives of our countries. Because once we apply the current indicators in the AC 2030, that under the prosperity, almost all indicators are positive, maybe except for the energy consumption or the renewable energy consumption related indicator. And when we apply for people, that it's the same, that though the prosperity was much more positively implemented than the people-related indicators. But if we look at the inclusive growth, which we are discussing inclusive growth, not the GDP growth, because inclusive growth is the one which affects or which is being affected not only income, but also inequalities, income distribution problems, quality of life, health, access to justice, and peace and partnership related issues. This is the, let's say, logical diagram of the AC 2030, because inclusive growth is the one which is creating impact on poverty, inequalities, social inclusion, and the population. So, if we look at that graph, what you see is that the convergence performance of Southeast Europe with Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, starting from 1990. So the bottom red line is the SE average, according to Human Development Index. And the upper blue line is the average of Southeast European outperforming regions, according to NUTS 2 classification. And the green line is the average of Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Have you been observing any convergence? No, unfortunately, even between outperforming regions with those three countries which are receiving migration from our region, according to human development. So there are differences between regional average and outperforming. This is an issue at the national level, how the regional equal growth can be ensured within the countries. But even we take into account outperforming regions like Bucharest, like Attica in Greece, like Istanbul in Turkey, like Slovenia, compare them with Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Still, there is a big convergence problem, which can be called as divergence. Now, the population. In terms of the population definition of SC 2030 includes negative fertility rate, which means decrease in population by natural causes, together with immigration. In 80 years' time, which is 2100, our region will be 20% less, but will be older. This means that today our working age dependency is almost 28-30%. In 80 years' time, it will jump to 70%. So we have to discuss, I think, today, how we can keep our social security system sustainable without going to bankruptcy in 80 years' time. And if we look at on the right-hand side, which is the non-EU Southeast Europe, because I cannot have data for the 5 EU member states' migration to EU, it cannot be counted as migration. So almost in 8 years, 2 million people received first permanent residence permits in the EU from the non-EU part of Southeast Europe. 2 million people. So there are a couple of studies in the academic world, which is called value of a statistical life. How much we may monetize the value of one person. According to different studies, I can tell you, in the US, the average is the US government is using to measure the value of one person's life is $6.5 million US dollars. Because they have to report, for example, when they enter into war, the cost of the casualties to their government. In Europe, there are a couple of studies for health services. It's around 180,000 euro, cost of statistical life, one person's life. So you may multiply that number of 2 million people immigrating to the EU with 180,000 euro. I can tell you is that it reaches, I think I calculated this, 300 or 400 billion euros of just migrating people from their countries to the EU. It's almost transfer of human capital. So for the poverty and immigration, I think these two maps can clearly show you the correlation. On the left side, the blue ones are the ones which show people living at the risk of poverty, according to Eurostat data, which is almost Southeast Europe. Because I don't have data for Turkey and the Western Balkans, but this is for the poverty map. And on the right-hand side, you see that the regions who are immigrating. So there is a very strong, I think, relation between these two, poverty and migration, and if you take into account the cost of their value to our economies. But when we look at the official development assistance, whether the donors are addressing this problem or not, first of all, the official development assistance is decreasing. So towards the region, but also globally. But still, particularly the Western Balkans part, but the Southeast Europe is receiving very significant level of official development assistance. But when we see the sectors, which sectors are being helped financially? On the left-hand side, you may see or you cannot see is that the main beneficiary sector of the development assistance is banks, banking institutions. Then the transport, the third one. The fourth one is government and civil society. We don't see, for example, any assistance in health, education. There are, but very small level. And when we look at their relation with the Sustainable Development Goals, at least we cannot measure their relation with the Sustainable Development Goals because donors are not obliged to report their official development assistance according to the Sustainable Development Goals. It's not obligatory. That's why many of the official development assistance, they did not sign, so it cannot be measured which Sustainable Development Goals that they want to address. So, as I said, aid effectiveness and SDGs responsiveness is one of the main priorities, as well as national budget's responsiveness, because not only the development assistance, but our taxpayers' money should be much more responsive when we are spending to the Sustainable Development Goals related priorities. We all know that it's being regulated by the Paris framework, which almost all countries are committed to implement. And this is one of the topics that we will discuss together with 13 countries. So what we want to do here is that we want to include official development assistance, national budgets. Also, there should be one more aligned with the priorities related to prosperity, not only prosperity, but also with the people and peace and partnership related issues and priorities of our region to enhance inclusive growth. So I'm skipping these small slides, which you can see that the relation between SC 2030 together with different stakeholders and different strategic frameworks which the RCC is interacting with. So regional ownership is important because we cannot perform if the countries do not own that strategy. This is their strategy, not ours. Solidarity is also another important issue, is an important element, not an issue, that the region, countries in the region can solidarize themselves with each other and can discuss with each other, with their neighbors, with their neighboring countries, how that they can help each other. And money is not a problem. As Mr. Bobel said that there are more important things than money. Networking, talking each other. As you invited me here in this forum to express ourselves, how you may think of helping each other. I don't know, your neighbors in Moldova, which is one of the SCCP participants, or your neighbors in the Western Balkans, to discuss sustainable development goals, sharing your good practices in your government with the other economies in Southeast Europe, which could be done without attaching any budget inside. Just organizing a couple of meetings, maybe online meetings even. And this is much more important than money. So I invite you to check our website in the RCC. I think we will all, let's say, do together many important things in the future, and you may see my contact details, and I will be very much happy to answer any questions if the audience want to ask. Thank you.
Much. However, we are 20 minutes behind schedule. I would like to address one quick question for you. Do you think that this trading segregation between East and West, as you said, have a positive or a negative impact concerning sustainable development?
I think it's a negative because I may say that In terms of clustering, there is one study which is prepared by the OECD that shows that, particularly on the western part of the region, they have only national clusters. They don't have regional clusters. And in each country in the western part of the Southeast Europe, their clusters are connected to the Northwest separately, not with each other. And this actually tells to you that how they can be involved in the value chain, that they are producing just small parts of whatever they are going to produce or whatever they are producing. But if we reverse our thinking, saying that the western part of those national clusters are clustered with the clusters in the eastern part in order to trade first 150 million people, which is, they all have trade agreements with each other in different formats, and which they can use those new regional clusters for the Southeast Europe. For example, ones in Serbia and Montenegro and Macedonia with the ones in Romania to export to Middle East. Then what would be the welfare impact? I cannot tell you numerically because I don't have any empirical studies, but at least the current reports tell that the national clusters are connected to the northwestern part of Europe rather than between each other in order to, let's say, establish much longer value chains within Southeast Europe, much bigger regional clusters in Southeast Europe. I think there is a big potential. I calculated, for example, 1% increase in the imports of these 4 economies from the western part will create trade at least 5–6% in the western part of the region. So 1% increase in imports of Romania from the western part of Southeast Europe will create positive impact at least 5–6 times in the western part of the region. That's my answer. I hope that I answered according to the available data.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope we can continue the discussions after the plenary sessions and enter more in details. But now we have to go further with the presentations, and now we'll talk about bioeconomy, one of my favorite topics. Within our organization, we are dealing or working for a sustainable bioeconomy in our country for years. Also, we have joint projects with the department for circular bioeconomy, and we are very happy that the Secretary General of the BioEast initiative, Mr. Borna Kovács, can be here today with us and present this initiative, present the impact and the vision of these initiatives and what this can mean for the countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I am pleased to be here. Your Excellencies, dear audience. Of course, while I was listening the first presentation, the first panel, and now I was wondering whether I should present something or just react what I heard. I will try to react, of course, and a little bit starting that, yes, I will speak about bioeconomy, but today, as you see, we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. But the question is, those were decided in New York, and what is happening locally, what we do with sustainable development, what means for us sustainable development. And of course, also we hear that green economy is important. Then today we heard about circular economy. Now you heard about bioeconomy. So what is the context? And then you see that there is if you are a square in front of you, then the circular economy, it's a bubble. The bioeconomy is another bubble. And they are a little bit overlaps, but they are also different. So when you are preparing a plan on sustainable green economy, then you have to probably think also on circular economy, which I heard today, it's prepared. And also you need to think also in bioeconomy. And what would mean bioeconomy? Most probably you know what is, some of you, and but I would still, if it's possible and it's working, which direction should go this? It's going, okay. I would talk a little bit why we need the bioeconomy, why we need a political priority on bioeconomy, and of course, what role could play the BioEast initiative, why we created the initiative which I am representing here. My name is Borna Kovacs. I am coming from Brussels. I am sitting in Brussels, and I am coordinating 11 Eastern European member states, Central Eastern European member states, working for sustainable bioeconomy. What is also important, before I mention that, just imagine that you locally, you want to invest some money here in Iași, and you will buy most probably the most innovative technology today. You invest, but due to the sustainability, this technology is changing. It's extremely fast changing. Now the question is whether you are also investing in research and innovation. Today morning we were hearing about education and research and innovation. Today the European Commission is spending in the coming 5 years almost 9 billion euro just in the subject of bioeconomy, research and innovation. 9 billion plus the private money which is mobilized by this 9 billion. 9 billion. Just to translate to you what means, not the money, not the 9 billion, but if it's spent today, that 9 billion, the effect, it's in 15 years on the market. Now, if you look how the Central and Eastern European countries are participating on the research and innovation, then you will see that altogether the EU 13, the new EU member states, so to say new, not anymore new, they are just 5%, 5-7%. So the question is how we imagine 2030 without not investing today in research and innovation, without not investing today on strategic thinking. So that's how this BioEast initiative was created, but let me just then go into the subject and a little bit explain you the context. So if you are talking about bioeconomy, I wanted to show you that bioeconomy is not just about agriculture, it's not about biomass. Usually in our countries, when you mention, I am mentioning bioeconomy, everybody says, it's agriculture ministry. They are dealing with resources, it's forestry, agriculture, freshwater-based issues, and that's all they deal with. Bioeconomy is the use also of the resources. On one hand, production, sustainable production of the resources, but also sustainable processing on food feed. But it's coming also, and usually in our countries today, we are talking about energy, renewable energy. Everybody wants to invest in renewable energy, burning the wood. But probably that's one of the other side of the circle, that it's not the best. The lowest value added is done when you are burning immediately. There is missing a big part in our countries, I will show you later on, is the material use. The material use, the chemical industry. Today what you see together here, the cover of this desk, this here, all in your chairs, everything contains fossil-based carbon. That fossil-based carbon needs to be decarbonized. We need to change it. And one possibility is based on biocarbon, bio-based, getting from the biomass. So all the paints, the textile, everything can be done based on bio-based, not fossil-based. So the question is, do we invest in this? Do we invest in those technologies? So they are interconnected. Moreover, if I am looking on the European Green Deal, the EU policy, which affects all of us in the coming years, none of the strategies, not just agriculture, but none of the strategies which is there can be achieved, and the targets which were set, without biomass use. So the bioeconomy will influence all those strategies, how we are thinking in our biomass resources, how we will use our biomass resources. Let me go further. Now I'm getting back where we started a few years ago, the initiative. When we were looking on the map, it was obvious a few years ago, more than 5 years ago, that in some countries there are bioeconomy strategies, you see in green. Those countries started to think on national level in bioeconomy strategy. But the Central Eastern Europe, where we have a lot of biomass, we were not thinking in that. We had no strategic thinking on what do we do with the biomass. Of course we have agriculture strategy, we have energy strategy, we have different strategies. But when you have to think in sustainable use, you have to have an overarching bioeconomy strategy, and we don't have it. And then we started with the Visegrad 4 countries, with Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary, to put together an initiative which a little bit considers how we can participate better in research and innovation related to bioeconomy and how we can develop our structures. And then immediately was at the governmental level followed by the Baltic states, the three Baltic, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, then also Slovenia, Croatia, Romania, and Bulgaria. So today we have 11 countries in the BioEast initiative at governmental level. Still, I am not saying that we are the overarching and the biggest initiative in the countries, because probably none of you heard about BioEast initiative. It's a niche, but still we started to think in our countries how to build our bioeconomies. Let me just show you a few issues here. If we are comparing on economic terms the number of employment with EU average, that would say that in our Eastern European countries, we are giving for the whole EU labor on bioeconomy half of it. So we have a big employment, but not in the value-added part, but we have more in the low value-added on agriculture, on forestry. So the value-added part of the labor, it's in our countries, is connected very much with the low value-added part. On the value-added creation, if we are taking the BioEast average, it's 11,000 euro per person. But the average in the EU is 35,000 euro. So one person what can doing in an average term. So where we need to invest? We need to invest in people. We need to invest in value-added processes, in different value chains. Otherwise, we are just exporting. As it was said, the biomass has legs. We are producing in Eastern Europe the raw material, and it's exported and processed somewhere else. The two legs are in different places. So, of course, a minister can say any time in our countries, we achieved well because we exported a lot, our agriculture or forestry went well. But we export a raw material without value added. The case, but sometimes even we are burning immediately the material. Maybe we will have time for examples. I wanted to show you just what we are missing. Biorefineries through over Europe. If you look in the Eastern European part, there are missing biorefineries. Let me a little bit also to show you more sophisticated. When we are starting to think on enzyme-based and chemical-based biorefineries, we are totally missing from the map, or almost missing from the map, the Central Eastern European countries. We do not have investments how we are processing our biomass. So that's important. There where we need to invest and launch projects that we are processing our biomass here in Eastern Europe. And again, I am coming back, which I was saying, without investment in research and innovation, we will not achieve whomever will say, without investing in education, and I was very happy to hear that Romania would like to invest in education of people, and on research and innovation. We are just 7, 9, 8%, so basically down under 10% in the biggest excellence-based research projects. So what you have to achieve in local level, local universities, you have to push the universities in the competitive European research framework, where if you are in the top, then you can be on the best technology advancements. You can develop your technology advancements. That's what we have to achieve, and that's where we need to work further. So where to create value, we need, as I was telling you, research, investment in bio-based industries, education system, and of course political priority. Without political priority in this bioeconomy, we cannot develop. Let me a little bit, I'm seeing on Annika that I have to be more faster than no, it's a little bit on the vision. So based on that, we developed the vision for the BioEast initiative at governmental level. We want to help the countries to develop their own strategies on bioeconomy, and of course helping in research and innovation part, the countries to better participate in the European structures. And yes, we would like to have more sustainable increase on biomass production, circular use of biomass, and of course viable rural areas. This is a little bit more still from the primary production angle, because ministries of agriculture were behind, and you can feel on the concept and vision that it's still on the primary part. However, it's clear that it's not for ministries of agriculture. They have to cooperate in each country with other ministries who are affected with the circular use, with the sustainable use of the biomass, producing biomass. Let me go, I was pushing too much. A little bit just about the initiative. In each country, in the ministries are sitting the national contact points. I'm coordinating them from Brussels. And we try to have also a political level. When the Visegrad ministers, they have the meetings, we usually invite also Southeastern and Baltic states to the ministers' meeting. And we have research and innovation on the agenda. We have the bioeconomy on the agenda, and that's the two levels. On one hand, the political level, when the ministers are discussing this. On the other hand, we created thematic working groups, because sometimes we have good declaration at political level, but no content behind. So we have to create the content. And that's why we created 7 thematic working groups, maybe you cannot see, on agroecology, on food system, on bioenergy, on biochemicals, freshwater-based bioeconomy, and education and skills. There are 7 thematic working groups where we bring together ministry people with scientists, researchers, experts, not to have just scientists discussing on science agenda and ministries discussing alone but not having the proper scientific background. So we created those thematic areas where we are discussing common needs, because to be able to influence the research agenda at the Commission level, to be able to influence the European level agenda, you cannot knock on the door of the Commission and saying, we are the university and we would like to have this and this topic in the coming work program. It's not possible. The research agenda cannot be influenced by the beneficiaries, those who will receive the money. The research agenda needs to be influenced by the ministries, by the research funders, those who are public administrators. So that's why we need, and moreover, not by country, but we have to come on in a region. So regionally we can develop and influence the needs of the future. That's what we realized. I'm not saying that it's easy. I am not saying that we are working 100% and we are on top. We started. We are there, we start to understand. It's very difficult to go in each ministry and explain what we are doing. It's very difficult for our traditional sector-based, silo-based ministry sectors to understand that actually we need to work together. We need to cooperate to be able to show a value chain. Otherwise, everybody, I was asking on one time, a few years ago in the Hungarian Agri-Ministry, I asked the forestry, and what do we do with the wood? We don't know, we cut the trees, and from that, we don't know what's happening in the other ministry. So that's the question. What is happening with the value chain, at the value chain level? And we have to start to think about this. I will go further, just showing very shortly what we are doing at national level. In each 11 country, what we are preparing a kind of impact assessment, a kind of concept paper based on which each country can develop its own bioeconomy strategy. We cannot impose on the government level, even if we are a governmental initiative, to do a bioeconomy strategy. It's a political decision. What we can do, we can prepare a concept paper, hopefully ready by this year. We are working already more than 1.5 years on those. One country is better, other less, but we will have concept papers for each country. We were working together with the Commission on Policy Support Facility. They were preparing experts from the ministries to understand what is bioeconomy. Maybe we can repeat that policy support facility if the ministries tell us that to help to connect with the Commission again. And what we now starting to develop, national bioist hubs. We need to discuss not just at political and policy level, but we need to bring in the stakeholders, you, NGOs, companies, what they want, how they want to develop better. So we need to raise awareness on bioeconomy. What means? Maybe some of you, you're already working in it, but you don't see the full picture. From where to where is the value chain? So that's what we are looking for the next years at national level. At macro-regional level, I think it's very important. On one hand, we are preparing a strategic research and innovation agenda. Based on the strategic research and innovation agenda, we try to influence the next work programs of the Commission, especially on research and innovation, but not just. Because by this research and innovation agenda, we can basically put on the table our needs, common needs. So not one university or not just one country, but we are agreeing on those needs, are under preparation. We are doing this more than a year. We started the process. Now we are going to finalize most probably also by January. upscaling the research of foresight exercise. We had a foresight exercise of 2050. Experts from us were saying, from our region, without bioeconomy, our region cannot reach the target of climate change 2050. Our experts were saying, now the question is, our politicians do hear that voice of experts, that we cannot reach the target without bioeconomy. It's very difficult because still in the countries, the political level did not reach it up until the political level that it's an important step to invest in bioeconomy. I would not enumerate again the different thematic working groups. They are coordinated by different countries. Ministry of the country, for example, in forestry area, Slovakia, Minister of Agriculture, and the Zvolen Institute together are coordinating a group of 11 countries on forestry area, also in the others. What I better brought to you here, the picture is not so bad as I was showing you before. The countries started to discuss on bioeconomy, where there is a map, and it's blue, of course, in Romania, Bulgaria, and some other countries, but in Sweden and Belgium, they are bioeconomy strategies, just at more on regional level. In Belgium, Wallonia, and Flandria, they have their own strategic strategies. But I would show here, maybe there are no national strategy in Romania, but what's a big surprise for us and me especially, when I saw the map of regions. The regions put in the smart specialization strategy the bioeconomy. Now the question is whether you can fill up with content. Because what I know from other countries, that very difficult to work at regional level with specific horizontal issues like bioeconomy if there is no overarching national strategy. If there are no programs at national level which can be translated at the subnational level, regional level. However, I think it's a big step what you did, and it's there, the bioeconomy in your smart specialization. Now what you need to put programs, action plan behind, and also maybe a cover at national level to have an overview. So how we are supporting, and it's also a message for the national level. On one hand, national bioeconomy strategy and action plan should be developed in the country. You should think also on national bioeconomy development programs from development funds, and of course, if possible, dedicated national research and innovation and bioeconomy program. Because if you are diluted that we have just business cluster, just research and innovation, just development program, and not targeting for specific topic, then it's very difficult for bioeconomy or bioeconomy stakeholders to buy in, to really engage themselves, especially in a country where a biomass is but biomass is one. And yes, I could speak up until the evening. Thank you very much.
I'm sure you don't have to apologize because you shared very important, valuable information with us. And this is a the national competitiveness strategy where actually bioeconomy is a priority area, or it was in how we are enabling the bioeconomy potential in Romania beside or after we elaborated the strategy, this is the biggest question. And you mentioned, I think, like 2 times that the most important question is how we are processing this biomass. And can you relate or reflect about Romania, how we as Romania are processing the biomass? Can you give us a relevant example for Romania? Are we know-how transfers or not?
Yes, I was in Estonia, and they are presenting a project started 8 years ago about the wood, hardwood, how they are processing the hardwood. They were starting with a research project which was financed with a few thousand euros, and then say that the project partner, it's on green energy. But for them, not the energy part was important, not the pellet part, what they are doing from the wood, and in Estonia it's very important, the wood sector. But what they were looking, it was for the chemical and industrial use of the wood. Because today, when they are doing in different parts, in lignin, on sugar, today the textiles, they are doing already. They are doing in Sweden, Finland, China, they started. Then on the sugar line also oils. So for them now, what they did it in 8 years, that they are now investing in to produce and use the wood. So what you have to see in this example probably is that you have to start from small scale, investing also research and innovation beside what you are doing on every day. And then in few years' time, you can build up your facility. And it's not far, because if today you invest 500 million in the newest technology, most probably that will be out of scope in few years' time, and you already used all your resources. So that's how I saw in Estonia that they are developing, they are investing in research and innovation. That's why the small project need to be bigger. And the use of wood, also in Sweden, they are putting in plantation beside the bone. So not wood as food, but it's depicted, and materials done from wood. So high value-added material is produced from the components of the wood. And that's what we have to aim here also in our countries, in these countries. Yes, I think so.
So you see this very relevant example from Estonia, which is very relevant for Romania, taking in consideration our wood industry. Has Estonia, they have a bioeconomy strategy on national level?
Yes, that's very interesting development. One of the first countries was Lithuania and Estonia even more than 5 years ago. On one hand, Lithuania decided to have a strategy. Latvia decided to have a strategy, but they were not putting beside an action plan. Then it was everything under. So without action plan, it's very difficult to implement. Estonia decided not to have a strategy a few years ago, but what they did, and they were going with agriculture and forestry strategy, having also the value chains in. But what they did this year, they retake at governmental level, they put in place a roadmap, basically a strategy where they are investing in agriculture, in bioeconomy, in research, in bioeconomy, in development, economic development programs in bioeconomy. So they put a roadmap in place. So basically they have its own strategy because they consider that to make with an innovation, with the research, and to develop their economy in the coming 10, 15 years, they need to do it. So that's why last year they basically launched its roadmap at governmental level, so I'm going cross and horizontal between the governments. I stop here. Thank you.
Big delay, but it's very interesting. And I can assure you, if you Excellency sent us all details about in how many countries what they are doing in bioeconomy. Somebody has to coordinate this issue of having a bioeconomy strategy in Romania. That's the department became somebody, yes? Okay, so I assure you that we will start some discussions also on political level and on the level of consultative council, because in Romania we have a history of bioeconomy. We had a very important personality, Nicolae Georgescu-Röngen, and first of all Grigore Antipa in the 30s, and Nicolae Georgescu-Röngen left Romania in United States, and in 72 he has about 12 different books, but one of them or two, they are on that time about bioeconomy. And he's supposed to have the Nobel Prize, but he didn't receive. So we have some history on this, and I hope that we will start to have a strategy on this in Romania, and it deserves. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Purica, who is a professor, a specialist in energy, and also a member of the Regional Consultative Council.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the previous speakers was talking about not leaving anybody behind. And that reminded me of a story that says the end of the world is coming, all countries disappear. I will tell it only with Romania. Romania remains. Why? We are 10 years behind. The idea is that the conclusion of this story is that everybody is on its own evolution trajectory, only knowing where they are, where they want to go, and how to go there. And for that, it's a question of making regional strategies by considering unity in diversity, as it is actually synthesized, by harmonizing everybody's trajectory, and in that sense, not leaving anybody behind means not leaving anybody excluded from the bunch. You know how they say, it's 1% inspiration, 99% transpiration, in order to put ideas into reality, into practice, and arrive at tangible results. In order to do that, you need structures that would actually attract money. I want to tell you today is a few ideas on actually my field mostly of specialty, which is energy. I started by building the nuclear reactors in Cernavoda and emergency core cooling vessels for Mohovce and Dukovany. At the time it was Czechoslovakia. I think Dukovany is in Czech and Mohovce now in Slovak republics. And I continued with doing risk analysis and development, preparing Rio 92 with Enea in Italy and so on. The idea is that, and let me push, we are talking now about some small modular reactors, because energy is very fashionable nowadays, especially in the change of international patterns and fluxes of energy, and that change is happening relatively fast, and we should thank the Russians for doing that or triggering that change now. Then we are talking about various other things, including indicators, other potential ideas for making smart development or startups, or we'll talk at the end about structures. So in Romania now, and it is very clear that this is actually the second time Romania is coming up with nuclear. The first time was back in '67 when we tried and started developing cooperation on CANDU reactors that at the time, like other reactors in the world, were just starting to develop. Now we are starting cooperation on small modular reactors. We are also developing a reactor, a fast breeder reactor, lead-cooled, in a cooperation with Italy. And obviously, I told you, to develop that, you need a bunch of companies that are bringing, every one of them, a lot of knowledge to the field. And the other thing that we are doing is taking the only small modular reactor that was approved by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the States, NuScale, and building a power plant based on several modules of that in a city in Romania. And why not put another SMRs, small modular reactors, to heat Iași, for example, since we are here, and to bring electricity to the city. Because this type of equipment can be put, and there is a recent study by the Department of Energy in the United States to replace coal-fired units which have all the structure or infrastructure for extracting the energy, putting it to the grid and so on, with instead of boilers, with small modular reactors. So the idea is that the world is changing, new technology is coming in, and one should be prepared at least to understand that technology, if not to act on it and produce results. Another I'm not going to give you details of these things. It's very clear that whoever is curious, we can discuss. It's energy storage. We have been developing a lot of volatile energy like wind, solar, even small microhydros and things like that. I will give you later on some ideas on nano hydro power plants that I used to call that. It's a question of you cannot play only on volatility of new renewable energy solutions. You need storage. In school, usually one is learning that energy cannot be stored. It has to be used, consumed as it is generated and so on. But the idea is that nowadays there are impressive developments in storing energy. Not only like Switzerland recently reported a pump storage hydropower plant, but we also have some project under development in Romania. I know the Bulgarians, I saw that in Chaira in Bulgaria. Austria has got some. The idea is that there are also battery-based and various other types of energy storage. I saw in Enea, Italy. I was actually an international researcher in Enea. I did some studies for them. Parabolic solar mirrors with eutectic salts in the foci of the parabola and a reservoir that actually the heated salt would stay in that reservoir at 500 degrees and would actually produce steam for electric turbine turbo generators power generation. I'm just giving you examples, and there are various storage technologies that are actually under development now, and obviously we may discuss each one of them separately, but it's not here. It's just a question of knowing that they exist, and we can go forward on developing that. Beyond lithium-ion, nowadays, as they used to say, the future is not the next Saudi Arabia oil system will actually be Peru or whoever other country with lithium reservoirs and reserves. Obviously, hydrogen is very interesting as a next generation, and take care, hydrogen has got the bad habit of exploding in connection with, in contact with oxygen. It's an exoenergetic reaction, and actually Chernobyl was starting with an explosion of hydrogen coming out of radiolysis. Obviously, there are various types of innovation evolvement and management of potential evolution of time to market for the ideas that are coming into hydrogen now. Storage in buildings. They discovered that they may use the building material and structure in order to make some storage of energy. Again, waste heat recovery is another type of potential idea, and various, I know a company in Romania that is trying to do a complete recycling of various types of waste, for example, in one of the regions of Romania. I'm not going to detail more. I don't want to take your time on these things. Obviously, information is way deeper than what we are discussing here. One thing that I wanted to, we arrived at something like 3%, 4%, and it's not a joke. I mean, 3% when they are asking NATO for 2% of the GDP. You know, when I hear we should fight climate change, actually, and then the syllogisms go that climate change is done by anthropics, by humans. So what is the conclusion? We should fight ourselves. We are creating climate change, we should fight climate change, we should fight ourselves, humans. No, the idea is that we should understand climate change, we should develop a policy and an action to coexist with nature, such that to adapt and mitigate. Anyway, just to give you an idea, you may introduce, based on those big data, a policy of insurance, climate change insurance. And I calculated some things. Or I did this for Italy and for Romania, the impact on gas network. You can do impact on power grid. You can do impact on roads, in the case of high snow, for example, and other conclusions and what should I call it? Useful use of high data. Now, another thing to discuss is indicators. And circular economy is something that already has been said in here, needs indicators. In the Department for Sustainable Development and in the Council, actually the Advisory Council for Sustainable Development, we've been setting down indicators because you need to monitor an action plan. An action plan without a monitoring plan is in a way relatively useless. You just say we have an action plan and that's it. You have to get down to reality and monitor it, implement the action and so on. One other thing, I'm not getting into the details of this data. Whoever wants a presentation is at the organizer, you may get it. One thing that I want to stress is that we need complex indicators. If in physics, in hydrodynamics, we have complex numbers or criterial numbers that are indicating the change from one behavior to another behavior, in economics, we are just at the beginning. I mean, the most complex indicators we have is an GDP per capita or something, or, you know, or Gini index that is a sum of things. The idea is that I've been involved in developing something like that in ICTP Trieste and in the Council for European Academies Advisory Council. There is a report on that, actually two reports. The other one is on resources for circular economy. Whoever wants them, I can send them to them. Developing indicators that are actually considering GDP's population, recycling of data, of materials and so on. That would give a totally different view on various countries. I promised I would give you an idea on how you can develop at local level. Local combinations of wind and solar. Those hydropower, small hydropower can float on channels, on rivers, and you can supply with a number of units various energy to local municipalities, small things or small cities. Electric buses. If you go to Rome from Piazza del Popolo to Piazza Venezia, you may find electric buses. Nowadays they are present in various other cities and so on. I've been doing some, and it's an interesting story, let me tell it to you. One mayor from a relatively small city in Romania asked me to do something for them. So I took in February, it was warm in the inside and relatively cold outside, thermal vision camera and make photos. You may see the building and the photos down the picture. calculated how much investment would be needed to insulate the buildings. And since at the time it resulted something in the range of 8 years because of heat efficiency increase and economy. The government at that time was paying half of the investment, so obviously the payback time was reduced to 4 years. When I told the mayor it's about a 4-year payback time, his reaction was, that's a good payback time, it's an electoral payback time. Remember, when you are talking about projects and structuring things, you need to consider perception of the decision makers. People in decision may have a totally different perception from the usual economics, payback time and things like project parameters and so on. Another example, I was in Japan, they were showing us recycling facility, south of Tokyo somewhere. They were producing electricity from burning waste, burnable waste, and they were recycling PETs into gasoline. So I was asking the Japanese presenter, how much did that cost? He gave me a figure, which is not of importance. Let me continue. Then I said, how much do you get from selling electricity and gasoline every year? He gave me another figure. I just divided the two just to get an orientative payback time, and it resulted in about 60 years. When I told him, hey, a project with a 60-year payback time, what happens? He said, look, we are a very advanced civilization that is consuming a lot and producing a lot of waste, that is actually living on 4 islands. If we don't have this and another 25 in all Japan, in a matter of 20 years, the people will not be able to live on those islands because of the waste. Now extend that to planet Earth. If we don't do anything to recycle, how much time would the people have until the waste is covering everything? So again,
I'm sorry, Mr. Purica, to interrupt you.
In a moment.
Thank you.
Finally, we need models. Imagine that we build bridges without a mechanical calculation model. This is an example of message model from IAA that was developed by the International Institute for Applied System Analysis in Luxembourg that goes into energy scenarios. Let me see what we can do. It's okay, so finally, incubators as a structure are supposed to generate business ideas. Clusters are gathering and disseminating the knowledge. Startups are implementing the business ideas. And finally, business parks are supplying the resources. So it's a question of creating all these structures in linking, networking such that we finally get to a new wave of innovation, of technologies, and finally to what we call sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's about creating and making them functional. We are very behind the schedule, which means I'm a very bad moderator. But
go on.
But
no
the
questions
information are very interesting, and I think we can stay 10 more minutes to hear about how sustainability is framed, is integrated in the Romanian National Competitiveness Strategy. I would like to ask Ms. Anca to present this measure. And if you can a little bit. Thank you very much.
Okay, I try. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here in this important event and present you the National Strategy for Competitiveness 2021-2027, which is preparing by Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Directorate from Ministry of Economy. Also I want to thanks very much to our expert team, which who work near us on the document and who supported us. So, Ministry of Economy is preparing the next National Strategy for Competitiveness, which is based on overview of relevant public policy documents for the Romanian economic documents for Romanian economic competitiveness, like national intelligence, the specialization strategy, national innovation strategy, digital agenda, Romanian industrial policy document, national strategy for workforce occupation, and so on. Also include measures planned for the management of the industrial transition. The national strategy is based on 3 strategic pillars. The priorities resulting from a problem-driven approach, from effect to causes. Prior to the definition of the strategical priorities, we organized a broad public consultation process involving public institutions on national and regional level, with industry's representative bodies, R&D centers, cluster association, and other. First pillar, macroeconomic framework, structural strengths and weakness of the Romanian economy. Second pillar is strategic outlook, industrial transition process, Industry 4.0. And third pillar, institutional framework, including proposal to strengthen the government's capacity for all the matters impacting on national economy competitiveness. The chosen approach on defining the national strategy of competitiveness, strategical objective, is an horizontal one, focused on supporting innovating activities, workforce formation, technology, investments, and not a vertical approach to pick and choose some economical sectors in order to receive primary non-reimbursing funds. The vision, the strategical and general objectives of national strategy of competitiveness the vision is a sustainable economical growth, inclusive and equilibrated between the regions. Strategical objectives are an economy built on a competitiveness business environment, with a high degree of adopting new digital industry 4.0 tools and within a stable institutional framework. And we have also 3 general objectives. 1, industrial modernization and technological update of the Romanian enterprises. The second is sustaining the digital transformation process, Industry 4.0, for example, to increase the competitive potential of the Romanian enterprises. And the third is strengthening of the institutional capacity to implement public policies impacting on economic competitiveness. Also, national strategic competitiveness and sustainable development. It's an industrial modernization and technological update of the Romanian enterprises with support the introduction of circular economy mechanism in the Romanian enterprises. Also, European Green Pact, which transforming the European Union by modernizing his economy and becoming more efficient in the resource consumption process. Romanian enterprises are in a preliminary phase of adopting circular economy methods. And the strategy proposes also two measures to accelerate the introduction of circular economy mechanism, which is project-based funding for the elaboration and development of products responsible design, and supporting the development of circular economy solution in the Romanian CMEs, integrating approach, option valuations, developing and testing technical solutions. Also, we have Industry 4.0. It's a theme proposed by Romania, raising Industry 4.0 technology use among the Romanian enterprises by retrofitting, training and professional reconversion. We need specialized workers, re-engineering the production and management processes, and broadening the collaboration between enterprises, universities, RDI entities, institutes, clusters, technological hubs, and so on. So thank you for your attention. I hope the time is okay.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening with this at this very great and comprehensive presentations from social aspects through economy. We also talked about ecological and energy-related subjects regarding sustainable development. Now we will have a coffee break till 1 p.m. and at 1 p.m. We will invite you to the policy roundtable session. Thank you very much.
Lunch and continue the networking we have started. I would like also to encourage you also to put questions if you feel free to do so. We would encourage this, and we would be very pleased and happy if you do so. So my name is Daniel Koșnița. I'm the president of the Romanian Cluster Association. The Romanian Association is one of the co-organizers of the event, which is also the final conference of Danube transnational project, Danube Peer Chains, which on a period of 2 years has dived into the problem of value chains and on the labor force perspective. But this is only one part of one piece of this whole sustainable development concept. About sustainable development, about bioeconomy, about policies, and how states, how regions, how program owners and are dealing and are positioning themselves towards the sustainable development goals, which is a very complex topic, which we will of course not be able to finish discussing about in this 1 hour. But still, let's try to discuss a little bit to understand what the sustainable development is and what different understandings are in various states and regions. So I will like to introduce you to my distinguished guests, which accepted our invitation to act as panelists today. I will start from from my left. To my left, I have Mrs. Gisela Kemmer from the cluster agency in Baden-Württemberg, and a region, a land of Germany. So you have a regional perspective. Then I have Rauf Alpdenktaş, which is Deputy Director General for Multilateral Economic Affairs in the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we will have a national perspective of a country in the Balkan, or of a very big country, a great country at international level. Then further to the left, I have the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Ileana Bălălău, she is working for she's a director in the Directorate of Sustainable Development Strategies at the Government of Romania in the Department for Sustainable Development, which is the main organizer at this conference. So we will have, again, the Romanian perspective at national level. Then let me see who is to my left there. We have Mr. Marko Savkovic, which is a senior advisor in the Department for Foreign Economic Relations in the Ministry of Economy, Economic Development and Tourism of Montenegro. So we will have, again, a national perspective, this time from an acceding country. Then I have Mr. Simion Berzoi, which is an investment attraction officer, actually, he is working for the UNDP in the Republic of Moldova, very strongly, also an acceding country, our sister country, and with which we have very strong emotional ties. And we will have also, again, a national perspective from, let's say, Eastern European countries. And last but not least, we come to Ovidiu Savu, who is head of External Cooperation Office and is working for the Regional Development Agency Northeast here in Romania. So also one of the co-organizers of this event. Thank you very much for this. And again, we will have a regional perspective. So that being said, I would like to ask now, where I would like to start, let's start from top to down, or from a logical perspective, in the sense of the level of the policy interventions, I think. I would like then to ask first Mr. Rauf Denktaş from the Turkish Ministry to explain a little bit about the broader context of how Turkey is positioning itself from this perspective as a sustainable development. Maybe not so. What are, I don't know, concrete measures? Maybe you can give some examples also of concrete measures taken in Turkey, but in the international context, how you see the role of Turkey and what do you do in this sustainable development goals business?
Thank you, sir. His Excellency State Councillor Borbeli, dear host, dear participants, let me tell you how happy I am to be here. My first posting 22 years ago was in Romania. I never got to see Iași, and this time around I managed to see this very beautiful city, and this building is very impressive. I thank our hosts, Romanian hosts, and the RCC for organizing this very important event. I want to contribute to the discussions by sharing some thoughts on the international context in which this forum is actually taking place, and, as I was asked, Turkey's perspectives on it. Our discussions take place against a multitude of challenges: a prolonged pandemic, the worsened climate crisis, increasing ecological disasters both in our region and beyond, rising conflicts, again both in our region and beyond, poverty, inequalities, food and energy insecurity. Last week I was in Ankara attending the launch of the UNDP Human Development Report. The title of the report was more like a novel to me, the title of a novel to me, Uncertain Times, Unsettled Lives. It reminds me of Charles Dickens' descriptions of the 19th century London, which was experiencing the consequences of the Industrial Revolution at the time, dark, ghastly and mysterious. And I couldn't stop myself from thinking how Dickens would have described the era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In a stunning first, the Global Human Development Index value has declined for 2 consecutive years. That is alarming. It must be alarming for all of us. In fact, the world is off track in achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. I'm happy that we have it there. Let's look at the backdrop over there. Let's look at goal 13, Acțiune Climatica. How are we doing against climate change in the world and in our region? Those of you who had the chance to look at the RCC study on climate change would know it portrays a gloomy picture also for our region as well. Let's look at goal 2, zero hunger, foamata zero. Taking a step back, do you appreciate how ridiculous it is to be talking about hunger in the 21st century? 10%, 1 in 10 persons in the world are faced with hunger. Again, in the 21st century. So this I find appalling. And let aside eradicating hunger as the goal committed in 7 years, we're faced with a food security crisis, and we're concerned that it might turn into a food catastrophe next year. So this is a very good indicator, because it all starts with this. I mean, jobs and everything else comes later, equalities and everything else, but we need to be able to feed people. Digitalization, for example, I can't limit it. I think this is an area, the ICTs and digitalization, that is relevant to, that can make help progress in every single one of those 17 SDGs on the board. But the digital gap is widening. I mean, while the pandemic, during the pandemic, we moved to learning to do things online, just as in education, work, and everything else. Millions and millions of people in the world are still offline. They're being left behind in this new way of life that we have discovered. They're left in the previous era. So normally, to be very honest, as a Turkish diplomat, I should take pride in the fact that the first SDG target that has been achieved so far is 17.8. Which committed to the establishment of a UN technology bank for the least developed countries. And we managed to do that in 2017-18. It was operational in Kocaeli, Gebze. it's tasked with technology transfer to the least developed countries, which are suffering the most from this. But overall, years of hard development progress has been reversed, and this is, to my mind, very, very concerning. But Excellencies, friends, I mean, every crisis is also an opportunity, and these simultaneous crises that we're faced up against offer also an opportunity for us to make things right, do things better. The debate on sustainability, collective response, and regional cooperation remains no longer a choice, but it has become a necessity. Economic recovery efforts should target a systematic shift towards a more inclusive and sustainable economy that works for, as the Secretary General says, both people and the planet. So promoting regional cooperation and regional ownership are among our top priority in this region. That's why we attach the utmost importance to the Southeast European cooperation process and the Regional Cooperation Council itself. The pandemic and now the war in Ukraine has made massive negative impacts on world economy with significant risks of destabilization in many regions, including ours. Most countries are faced with stagnant inflation, some even political backlash. International trade is in a dire state. Countries and firms are switching to do a security-first model of business. This could descend into protectionism and worsening inflation. So the importance of coordination at the regional level has become all the more evident. The Balkans as a region represents numerous possibilities for regional and sustainable development. SECP and RCC can be instrumental in overcoming these challenges. They're very valuable mechanisms that we have established. And over these 2 days, with the participation of all stakeholders, I trust that we will have the chance to discuss in depth what more we can do in our region against these challenges. I personally will be particularly interested over these 2 days in hearing perspectives on how we can support the private environment, to internationalize business, how we can strengthen the implementation of the SCE 2030 strategy, and how we can better support the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Agenda. And I would like to say up front that as a G20 and an OECD member, but most importantly, as a committed member of this region, Turkey will continue to work with you to strengthen our partnership against these immense challenges at this critical time, both for our region and the international community in overall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, thank you very much for this very broad perspective. If there are any questions, so now very hot questions, so at first glance, I would like then to ask a question, yeah? So you from the all of this, we see here very well, all the SDGs you have mentioned, yeah, you have mentioned 3. You chose to mention 3. You have chosen the work against hunger, yes, you have chosen the climate action, and you have mentioned the 17, the partnership for objectives, where you have moved a step further, so to say, by doing concrete actions. And the question is, so for example, in our case, as a member of the European Union, there is a policy. Let's take climate action, for example, yeah, because. Okay, hunger, let's say, yeah, thanks God, it's not a problem that now we have. Yeah, but let's take climate action, while it is very important, that, of course, at international level. But taking climate action, so of course at European level there is a policy, there are recommendations, there are enforcements. Yeah, so us as member states, yeah, somehow we implement, if better or worse, but if we wish or not, but still we go on this process of implementing some actions at European level towards achieving those goals. But for a country that is not part of the European Union, and we will be interested to hear this, what are the triggers in Turkey that, so what are the instruments that you use, yeah, in order to achieve all those goals? Are there, yeah, are there financing programs? Are there strategies? Are there other regulations? So how do you deal with this? How do you push forward this at national level? Not having, I don't know, some regulations coming from, let's say, from the European Union, as it is in our case.
Thank you. with the change in the administrative system in Turkey several years ago, we established an office at the presidency, strategy and budget presidency. It is above all the ministries, and it is charged with making sure all of Turkey's development plans, national development plans, are in line with the SDGs. So it's more like what you have here. And they are working on all aspects of it, including from the legislation, the financing parts as well. When it comes to the international efforts, I mentioned zero hunger because when I thought of people, I thought of feeding them first before making them entitled to all the others there. I thought that we should make them survive. And that is also an area where, as you know, Turkey has been instrumental in taking the grain out of Ukraine with the Black Sea Initiative with the UN. And it's also something that we've been taking the lead in the international community, both in the G20 and supporting G7's efforts. I mentioned digitalization actually, because it relates to everything else, and we have established a new way of life for ourselves, but some people, millions and millions of people, are not living in that century. They're far left behind. So how are we going to make sure they're not left behind? So that is one other area. Climate action, the planet, I mentioned it. So as the Secretary General of the United Nations has said, it's people and the planet. So for the planet, it is coming to alarming, catastrophic levels. We have announced our own targets. We have signed and approved the Paris Treaty after some hesitation. We have set our goals for 2053. What EU is doing here is very helpful. But the general effort is a global effort. I mean, EU alone cannot save the planet. We have to make sure that those that are suffering the most, like the small islands and developing states that are having existential problems, can communicate their needs, can receive enough finance. Yeah. And we set a full picture of commitment within the UN system, including every single nation on this planet.
Okay, so but at governmental level, so we have an office at governmental level, so similarly with the Department for Sustainable Development here that is dealing, is seeing that in all strategies you have these sustainable development goals somehow, yeah? Okay.
Like in climate or all of the general?
Yeah, in general, but in climate, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In climate as well, it's a part of the SDGs,
yes.
But we also just very recently reformed our Ministry of the Environment, and now it's the Ministry of Environment and Climate Action, okay. And that is in charge, and the financial side is with the Ministry of the Treasury, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, because I would like to, I would like to pass to Montenegro, to Marco, and the question. Yeah, okay, Turkey, okay, they have now an office at the level of the government, but now Montenegro is an acceding country, so how is Montenegro dealing with this and how do you coordinate and how do you accommodate, how do you change, how do you reform in order to fit with the European Union's requirements? So how do you deal with this at national level in Montenegro?
And I will offer you a unique overview of the country like Montenegro, which is a small economy that is currently trying to reach the sustainable development goals on 3 different levels. So when we are speaking about Montenegro, we can speak on government state level, we can speak about the regional level and the EU accession process level. So basically all these 3 pillars of reaching the sustainable development goals are interconnected, heavily interconnected. Because Montenegro is a small economy, it's not only enough to reach it on the level of economy, but it is important to reach towards the region and to achieve cooperation and heavy influence of the other economies in the Western Balkans as well as the whole Balkan region. So basically what I wanted to say is that Montenegro during the accession process toward the EU, it was one of the core policy-making tools, and actually we always refer to the document in all the policies that were made in Montenegro.
So basically the COVID pandemic showed the vulnerability of Montenegrin economy, because it's a small economy and it's heavily based on tourism. It showed that the economy was vulnerable to external shocks. So Montenegro government started a new process that is heavily reliant on building a stronger economy based on the principle of sustainable development. So this sustainable development is based on green transition and greening the economy of Montenegro, of its current sector, as well as creating the new sectors that will be based on the green economy, as well as using the principle of circular economy. So to help this, we first had to establish a strong institutional framework. So basically last year, Montenegro redesigned its National Council for Sustainable Development, which is now chaired by the Prime Minister, and it's being used as the prime advisory body that will help Montenegro reach its goals and it's help formulating future policies. As well, the Office of Sustainable Development of Montenegro is now redesigned and it is under the General Secretariat of the government. So basically it has a higher mandate and it can work towards Montenegro in achieving the sustainable development goals. So first, when the institutional framework was set, it is time to put the strategic documents to work. So basically, as I already mentioned, the national strategy that we adopted, one of the first countries that adopted it, was then covered by other strategies and documents. I would like to mention the S3 strategy of Montenegro, Smart Specialization Strategy, that in last year, two really strong laws were enacted in Montenegro that help innovation policy in Montenegro. It is law on innovation activities and law on incentives for development and research and innovation. So basically, those two laws put a strong emphasis on digitalization and innovation in Montenegro. Another body was formed, Innovation Council, that will help the innovation in Montenegro that is based on green growth. And those two acts together with the implementing bodies are currently showing great results in Montenegro because the Innovation Fund and Eco Fund was also formed in Montenegro for the purpose of just boosting and fostering the development in Montenegro. So this is basically the institutional and strategic and policy area in Montenegro, and together from the state level, then we can speak about the regional level. Currently, Montenegro is presiding over the Southeast European cooperation process, and the strong focus of this cooperation, one of the pillars of the presidency of Montenegro, will be development of sustainable development in the region. A special thanks goes also to the strategy 2030 that Montenegro is part of, and it will be heavily relying in the upcoming period. As Mr. Romut already mentions, it is based on three pillars that are prosperity, people, peace, and partnership. And Montenegro is heavily committed to the regional cooperation because the only impact that can be made can be made by the regional cooperation if we join together the expertise, the know-how, so we can together reach the 70 goals of the sustainable development. So basically, relying on the strategy, on cooperation process, we want to push forward the region to together go for the 70 goals of the sustainable development. And as I already mentioned, the perspective of the West Balkans is the accession to the EU. We want to be a full member of the European Union. So basically, it's heavily reliant, I already said, 109 tasks are there. And together, cooperating with the region, together with the other countries that are accessing the European Union, we can reach those goals. And lastly, I want to mention that Montenegro presented its VNR 3 months ago in New York, and basically it was actually a great exercise for Montenegro. It is the second VNR from Montenegro, and we were focused on some of the development goals. And while the report showed that Montenegro made progress in some of the 70 goals, we actually had a time to reflect on some of the challenges and some of the issues that became evident. Because during the preparation of VNR, Montenegro was In the preparation of the document, not only the government institutions were involved, but Montenegro also involved the non-governmental sector, business association, foreign partners, as well as youth through one program for sustainable development goals for the youth. So basically our experience from Prepare VNR showed us some of the issues that we are facing and that will become the focus of national policy in the upcoming period. So that is basically it. And maybe I would like to mention the circular economy. Montenegro also is preparing a roadmap of circular economy in Montenegro that will be targeting the sectors that will be most affected by circular economy. So those sectors are strategic sectors of Montenegro that are sustainable tourism, sustainable agriculture and food value chains, as well as energy sector and energy efficiency. So with this roadmap, we basically want to identify the sectors that will be most targeted, and in the future period, we want to create the policies that will directly impact those sectors.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Savkovic. So you presented a very structured, although very complex, a setting, and from this complexity, yes, I think there might be also some difficulties in implementing. So where is the most difficult? Because you mentioned this 109. Yeah, where is the most? What's the difficulty? Where do you see the biggest difficulties in implementing those measures?
It's not just the implementation, it's just recognizing those things. Like I said, VNR helped us actually see the vulnerabilities and actually see the target that we weren't targeting at all. So basically, it made us realize that at first it needs to be recognized. The goals need to be heavily recognized, and then a strong institutional framework that will actually work with the concrete goals that will work on those issues. So basically, I think in this period, but it's the period we're already close to 2030, but we actually need to understand those goals, those tasks, and to actually understand the issues, concrete issues. In the process, there are not a lot of indicators that will show the progress toward the achieving goals. During the collection of the data, we actually had a problem collecting the indicators that will show the progress from 2015 to 2022. So basically, it's maybe collecting those indicators and then just targeting the goals that are not going to be achieved or that we need to put a more focus on, and political will needs to be stronger on those issues.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and let us go now to the Romanian case. The State Councillor has presented the overall, the overview on the Romanian policy concerning sustainable development, and we thank the department also for the organizing of this conference, which shows the strongest involvement of the Romanian government towards achieving these goals. And I would like to ask now Mrs. Bălălău, which is working in the department, to give us more concrete insights. So what's Romania doing on sustain? What are the instruments? And maybe because this is also must be known, by also at Romania. We also must recognize. I mean, the word which Mr. Savkovic mentioned. We have to recognize the problems and the goals that we have, and then to have instruments to achieve those goals. So, yes, please.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor, and thank you to all of you for coming here and being together with us. It is a forum organized by us, and we are very happy to have you here. Because you asked me what we are doing concretely, I would like to start with an example, and I would like to ask the colleagues from the back of the room to present a movie that shows better than the words what we are doing.
Este o lecție complicată și pentru noi ca echipă de producție. Lucrăm, cum spuneați, echipamente de peste 200 de kilograme, tocmai la stația meteo de pe vârful Om.
Văd că totuși vremea a ținut cu dumneavoastră. Ce au aflat copiii?
A fost o lecție multidisciplinară. Sunt toate lecțiile educație la înălțime. Sezonul acesta avem 9 lecții din România, făcute cu Departamentul pentru Dezvoltare Durabilă din cadrul Secretariatului General al Guvernului României și o lecție eveniment din străinătate de la Paris. Lecția aceasta a vorbit copiilor despre diferența dintre vreme și climă, a vorbit despre situația climatică la nivelul Europei. Cum bine știți, și ați transmis atâtea știri pe tema aceasta, anul acesta a fost cel mai călduros din Europa, cu recorduri în multe țări. De exemplu, la Londra, știu că s-a înregistrat cea mai mare temperatură de când se fac măsurători. Apoi, copiii de lecție multidisciplinară au învățat și despre evenimentele petrecute în Bucegi, despre luptele care au avut acolo în primul război mondial.
Ce fel de elevi au participat la lecția de astăzi? Și cum au primit ei lecția?
Mesajele sunt încurajatoare, sunt extraordinare. Copiii pur și simplu sunt fascinați pentru că am prins și o vreme foarte, foarte interesantă. Practic au fost 4 anotimpuri într-o oră. Am început lecția în ceață, apoi s-a luminat, iar s-a făcut ceață, zăpadă, am avut și câteva pâlcuri de zăpadă în jur. Deci cumva a fost perfect, o vreme perfectă pentru o lecție despre climă. Copiii au fost încântați, mesajele lor sunt foarte, foarte bune și foarte multe. Avem și concursuri pentru ei, avem interacțiune cu 3 școli prin Zoom și atunci sigur că pentru ei este cu totul altceva decât o lecție clasică cu creta la tablă.
Și după lecția de astăzi despre meteorologie, ce urmează?
Cum vă spuneam, pregătim o lecție din străinătate, de la turnul Eiffel, din Paris. Pe asta ne concentrăm acum, dar mai avem alte...
Thank you. Sorry for our guests because we didn't have time to translate it into English, but in short, this is a program, educational program, developed for children during the pandemic. Education with drones. Lessons are taught in real time from different parts of Romania, and the lessons are focused on specific SDGs. The one that was presented now, it was promoted in mass media, and it was regarding the climate changes, how they are affecting our life. Many schools are involved in this program, so they receive real-time lessons. It's just an example of the programs that we are supporting. But besides that, of course, we have developed similar to our colleague here, what my colleague here mentioned, the strategical framework, institutional framework to implement the 2030 agenda in Romania. Mr. Borbély mentioned before the National Strategy for Sustainable Development adopted in 2018, the National Action Plan for Facilitating the Implementation adopted this year, and the institutional framework developed at the national level. Now we are building bridges. Actually, we are building a community for sustainable development in Romania. It is developed at the national level. Now we start to build bridges that connect us with this society. Building bridges to connect us with youth, with business environment, with academia, with NGOs from different sectors, different domains. And how we are doing this with this kind of communication and awareness campaigns, with partnerships, with involvement. We are involving them in all the stages of the elaboration of our strategies, action plans, policies regarding sustainable development. Recently, we worked at the elaboration of the strategy, national strategy for circular economy. It was a process developed in collaboration with all stakeholders. We involved them in the elaboration of the strategy, and currently we are working at the action plan. And we hope that until next year, Romania will have the action plan to put in place the national strategy for sustainable development. It is, again, another process developed in collaboration with our main stakeholders. Regarding the circular economy, the strategy identifies the main sectors that have potential for circularity. It is an overview of 14 sectors, but for 7 sectors there will be developed measures and policies and will be detailed in the action plan. And these sectors are agriculture and forestry, automotive sector, beverages, food and drinks. We have also the electric and electronical equipment developed, and of course waste and water are treated at sectoral domains. And of course, this process of developing the measures and actions in the action plan is not easy, because you discuss here about problems. It's not easy to catch in the actions the problems that are identified by our stakeholders, but for sure it will be a good document that will support the business environment to finance their investments in order to have green investments in Romania. So I think I will continue if I have questions from the public, but
yes.
Yeah, I know that the time is short, and I will try to
Thank you. Questions? So every time if you wish to question, please, because I always have a question, but maybe not only me should put questions. So yes, look, there is a question. We need a microphone. Do we have one? No.
Hello, can you hear me? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for your speeches. My name is Alexandru. I'm working for the Bureau of Economic Cooperation and Tourism in the city of Iași. I'm asking from, let's say, a scientist's point of view. I studied geography. I did my master's. I'm doing my PhD now. You know, everybody's speaking about climate change. I think we were dealing with this problem ever since from 70s. We call it different names, like we said it global warming or climate change, and now we have this program from 2030. And everybody's having policies about it. I'm asking how are these policies are going to affect the SMEs, so the small businesses and intermediate businesses in the future, because what I actually want to say is that from a scientist's point of view, speaking about weather, the kids were making differences between weather and climate. So the climate, you can make an idea of a climate from between 30 and 50 years. Weather is something like weeks. So we are dealing with the weather, so we're taking statistics and we have data from 150 years in the past. Before that, we didn't have any data about it. So now how we are dealing with it, how we trying to get data, we go in Antarctica, we take the ice out and we calculate, like, you know, it was like this weather or that weather. Now we're speaking a difference of 1.5 centigrades, like Celsius, 1.5. That's the difference between, you know, any other year. So to be honest with you, I don't think we know exactly what's happening. I don't know, like, we don't know if it's something that's normal to happen or if the people or, you know, anthropology, it's something that's messing with the weather or with the climate change. So the idea is that maybe in a couple of like 20, 30 years, we're going to understand that maybe it's not us that are doing the climate change, it's just a normal circle of the earth that's doing it. And how are those policies that we make in any other countries or on the, you know, bigger picture like European Union with the Green Deal program and stuff like that will affect the small businesses or the intermediate businesses. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. Mrs. Boileau, or any other, yeah.
As you probably may know that small businesses are now there are a lot of programs, financing programs that support best technologies that are environmental friendly. So this is a kind of support for the business sector. As well, now we have at the level of the EU, the new rule, EU taxonomy, then regarding that established criteria for activities for investments that are green, and those criteria are used also for by the financing institutions. And yes, we need to go in this direction to have a green industry for the future.
I would also like to add from the experience of Montenegro. So basically for the SMEs now, the government is there to create incentives in the sense that incentives and education of the green economy, green business and everything. So basically in this stage, we need to educate the businesses about the green policies and the green agenda, and as well as provide incentives and to reward the businesses that are going to approach the green transformation, circular economy, waste management, water management and everything. So the government at this stage need to provide incentives, and as well not only incentive but the education need to be an important part about understanding our bond with nature and everything. Montenegro, for example, is ecological, it's first declared ecological state in the world. It declared in its constitution that it is ecological state in 1991, but only recently we started putting focus more into what does it mean. What does it mean to be ecological state? So basically government in the future period will be providing education as well as incentives for both small and medium enterprises as well as the foreign direct investment that will focus on green energy, green agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and all the sectors that can provide a healthier environment for living.
I would like to add...
Very short, yes?
Very short. I would like to bring the issue closer to the place you study, the northeast region of Romania, here. In this respect, the Northeast Regional Development Agency, as managing authority for the regional operational program, has been work very hard and will provide for the small medium enterprise support for what we call sustainable growth of the SMEs. And in the next program, in the present program, how can I say, 2021-27, there will be call which is will be dedicated to investments for sustainable growth of SMEs, and will be projects supported, financed in order to increase the competitiveness of the SMEs, tackling exactly the subject of circular economy for them, in terms of reusing materials and products, reintroducing byproducts again into the process, and so on. Various, and we will have in this period of time almost 30 million euro for this.
Yeah, thank you, Ovidiu, because you came to word. Now let me pass to you, okay? If you started already to present what the Regional Development Agency is doing, so you mentioned this intervention, I would like to ask you, how are they sustainable? What are the main instruments that you as a Regional Development Agency are implementing, towards, for the next period? The General Director, Mr. Asande, has mentioned very brief in the beginning, but because the Regional Development Agency is one of the very active Romanian development agencies on all levels, and maybe you can make a short overview of the interventions and the policies that you are doing at regional level in this respect.
Well, as I said, the Northeast Regional Development Agency, as the main generator of social and economical development in the Northeast region, was very interested in bringing knowledge, information in our region related to everything means sustainability. And in the last 7 years, we implemented several projects that tackled water management, bioeconomy, circular economy, green public procurement, and so on. That's why also the smart specialization strategy of the Northeast region is also having as vision creation, transfer, and transposing of innovation into practice in a systematic and sustainable way with societal benefits. When we drafted and updated the smart specialization strategy, which is one of the main policy instruments related to specifically to innovation in the region, we took into account to have a cross interference between the priorities in the regions. I mean the key areas, which are agri-food, wood industry, textiles, health, tourism, ICT, energy, and environment. On one side. On the other side, because I was speaking about the social and economic development of the region, another tool is the regional operational program for the present programming period, which is comparing with the tools that the operational programs that have been implemented in the previous programming periods, is now a totally reshaped funding tool, because the agency as managing authority was able to draft and to customize, if I may say so, in such a way as to reflect all the priorities and the needs of the region. And as I said, at the response to our interlocutor, by the way, I have also a colleague in the office which is having a PhD in geography, and it's very, very, very useful to our purpose and the region for drafting all the strategic documents. So geography is a good field. I was tackling about the call that is dedicated to supporting small medium enterprises in their journey to implementing competitiveness projects and providing the transition to new models of sustainable production, and I was making about those 30 million euro money prepared for this funding and support scheme. And of course, on the other side, considering the fact that also clusters are also very strong vectors in the regions, bringing competitiveness, strengthening the value chains, bringing added value in the region, and of course, overall bringing the contribution to the regional economy, have also another financing tool called innovative development of clusters, is another funding scheme included into the regional development program, in the regional operational program. And of course we have here, because Daniel asked me to be very brief, just to mention the call financial allocation is 12 million euro. Both schemes I was mentioning are ERDF plus state budget money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ovidiu. So, because you mentioned the clusters, and so how do you see the role of clusters in? Because we've heard here about. We have to recognize the problems. There are some problems. We have seen some pilot actions from the department. Okay, bringing young pupils, young children, to see, in a funny way, what's the weather, how, this climate action, to explain to them what's the role of clusters. How do you see the role of clusters?
Well, the clusters are really important for the region in which they are operational, because the association of clusters determines, as I said, economic development. And we created a cluster through an European project. It's a cluster, imaging cluster here in Iași, and it was created through a 7th framework program project, and is unique in the Northeast region, in Romania, and in Europe. Yes, clusters are very important because they bring also competitive advantages to their members. They influence also the structural changes in the economy, and it's bringing revitalization to industrial sectors. I was, according to a study that was published by the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, it was mentioned that 38% of the jobs in Europe are created by clusters, so-called regional sectorial centers. On the other side, member companies in the strong cluster are bringing more innovation in the clusters and in the region. On the other side, clusters themselves attract more venture capital. The experience proved in Europe proved this, that they bring more venture capital in, attracting also these sources from other regions. They are also very big magnets of very high qualified labor force. And last, not the least, according to the studies that have been done, the companies in the clusters most of the time have the highest wages around. So this is the reason why clusters, as I said, are very important economic vectors in the regions they are operational, and of course they need all the support, not only financial, but also in terms of animation and counseling support and so on.
Thank you very much for appreciating the cluster so much, and we know that the Northeast region does this. Clusters, because the magic word has been mentioned. Why does Baden-Württemberg need a cluster agentur? And So yeah, this means something. Yeah, they in Baden-Württemberg they have a cluster agency, and because in our clusters from all these, as Mr. Dentaș, he mentioned, all are important, took some. So for us in Romania, what we have, bioeconomy is very, very relevant for us and for our clusters. And for example, clusters in the center region, in the cluster consortium of the Central Cluster Consortium in the central region of Romania, all clusters have bioeconomy embedded in their development strategies. So yeah. Maybe Gisela, so the relations, why cluster agency, why what's the relation, what bioeconomy, because we have a bioeconomy strategy in Baden-Württemberg. So all this, maybe you can explain us a little bit about all this constellation, how it works in Baden-Württemberg.
Yes, sure. Thanks for the introduction, Daniel. So first of all, one can say in general that clusters can support innovations because of common interests, because of personal relationships in connection with informal exchanges, and because of short distances. And the greater the trust, the bigger is the potential for common innovation projects. So in our case, the transition to a sustainable economy. But maybe we can ask how we can work better. What could we improve in the cluster work? So maybe to bring more different actors from different disciplines together. So not only companies, also research institutes, and also public facilities. And clusters should maybe be more open-minded and regarding new technologies. So they must think outside the box, and maybe it's the possibility to have more cooperations with the research and the development field, because then you can recognize trends earlier, and also the cooperations between different clusters could be a future goal. And also existing services could be improved, so such as industry analysis, or to offer advanced trainings in special fields. So bioeconomy is only one field, so we also need some training in digitalization, and there are a lot of other themes. We have no time to mention all, and also the creation of new financing models, or implementation of new financing models. And so also the support regarding funding programs, because there exists a lot of different programs, and also the submitting process is not always easy. So there is often a challenge to find the right innovation or invest program for the planned project. I think that are the task for the future in the cluster policy.
Thank you, Gisela. But still, thank you for this. But still, you in Baden-Württemberg are very concerning bioeconomy. We are very active also at international level, and you always promote, wherever possible. I mean, you are a motor program in this Danube transnational project. From Baden-Württemberg came several projects, where we also have been involved, like in Danubio Valnet, it was, and others. Now Go Danubio. So why this? Why? So what's the reason behind?
Okay. Because we knew that bioeconomy is relatively important in the future, and because of that we also have a bioeconomy strategy in Germany, and especially in Baden-Württemberg. So the Ministry of Rural Affairs introduced it in 2019, and there were 6 goals of the strategy. So the first is to establish a sustainable raw material base for the industry, so renewable or recyclable raw materials, and of course with the aim to reduce the consumption of fossil raw materials, and to be, at the end, more to reduce the dependencies. Also, to recognize the potential of bioeconomy within ecological boundaries, and to improve the biological knowledge And an important aim is to strengthen rural areas through bioeconomy solutions. And it's very important also to involve the society and strengthen national and international collaboration, because now it is the case that at the end the public has to pay or must be willing to pay a little bit more for some products, and because they have to think why it's important to have bioeconomy, why we need this in the future. And in the end, we want to promote Germany as a leading location for innovation in the bioeconomy field. And yeah, but what is the question is then how to implement these goals. And there are, I could say, 3 crucial aspects. So the first one is research funding, and the second, matching framework conditions, and the last one, cooperation of different areas. So the first one is that we need different funding programs for the different technology readiness levels. So we need funding for basic research, for industrial development, for industrial ramp-up, and from 2020 until 2024, for example, 3.6 billion euros were invested in the bioeconomy field in Germany. But also the matching framework conditions are really important. So, for example, to have a prioritization of the usages of different fields. So, for example, that the energetic use of biomass stands at the very end. And also the cooperation of different areas is necessary. So, for example, to use the digitalization in the bioeconomy field. And Germany has is lucky because we have a broad scientific environment, and we have, for example, a state agency regarding bioeconomy and also a research center regarding this theme, and unique in Europe, a master degree program where different institutes cooperate with each other, so from the agricultural theme, from the business sector, the engineering, and I think at the end we need a good, fruitful, interdisciplinary exchange for established circular economy.
Yeah, thank you. Very impressive, but when I hear what Baden-Württemberg does, yeah, I think we are a little bit far from this. So, and that's a long way. So now I would like to, because spontaneously, I would like to ask Barna. So how do you see this divide? Yeah, because you see in Baden-Württemberg, they are very advanced. You see that in Eastern Europe, somehow we are struggling with structuring. Yeah, how do you see this? So how do you see this divide, and how we get out of this? Yeah, how can we? Yeah. You have heard what they do in Baden-Württemberg. So.
Thank you very much. I was very much thinking whether should I intervene with questions or comments, but that you were asking me that. Thank you. So yes. While I was listening all of you, and they were interesting, and especially now at the end, Gisela, basically I was thinking, actually what Gisela was saying, everything is embedded, but the question is, do we understand what she was saying in different points? And please don't misunderstood me. I am not saying that you are not understanding English or the messages. But what the experience shows, and let me start on one point. A few years ago, even almost 10 years ago, the experts behind the EU strategic thinking, they were saying that the transition towards sustainability cannot be left up to the markets. We cannot leave, basically, and that's my translation, to the companies. It has to be governed. Why am I saying it's governed? And this is what they were suggesting, the experts, it needs to be governed. That would mean that we will need a strong public administration, governance above. And it cannot be sector-based, it has to be overarching. And when I'm now decoding what Gabriela was saying, they already have a national level, governmental level, strategic thinking, cross-sectorial discussion in the ministries. But the ministries alone, I have from my experience, cannot solve this question because they don't have human capacity. What they also implemented, they have an agency, innovation agency, behind the ministry who is working with the ministry in a close cooperation. And then as putting a pillars, she was mentioning different pillars on different sectors, targeted programs with different sectors, and also targeted programs for different technology readiness level. On research 1 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 9. So the technology readiness level on the market, and they are targeting with specific programs. Why is important? Because you were asking about clusters, and everybody was like, yes, we have clusters at region. But what it showed us, for me, in the past 5 years in the Eastern European context, that still the clusters are far away from the ministries. And if we don't have the institutional gap filled in, the clusters cannot work properly. So here we miss in Eastern Europe, and I'm not talking about Romania, I'm talking about general in Eastern Europe, a gap, institutional gap, which needs to be translated. And I think here what I see in Romania, having your department, the sustainability department, actually I can pinpoint a very good step. You started to overarch some of the different ministries. Under the Prime Minister office, you start to discuss with different. It's a very difficult process. But if you want to do this could work and this can work, but of course you still need an institution in between, a background institute, an innovation agency, which is focusing on specific issues. As in Baden-Württemberg, they are focusing on digitalization, health, and bioeconomy. On BioPro, it's an innovation agency. So I'm not saying that that's the graal of everything what Germany is doing, but we have a gap on institutions, what here is important, and that's what we need to fill in, that our clusters could work better. Otherwise, we will be just in the air, and of course, it was raised, and I will stop, but I have to say this. It was mentioned several times, research and innovation. That's key here. We have investing in research and innovation? Because research and innovation is triggering everything. And by research of innovation, we can push forward issues. And here, in some of when we are doing strategies, we usually forget to do research and innovation, specific research and innovation actions. And that's why it's key to combine that if we are not putting now money in research and innovation, what we'll do in 15 years? We will be in the same place, same position, and we discuss about clusters, and we want to trigger our economies, but not moving from one step to the other. So if we want, we need to start now with these innovation agencies. I will stop here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, yes, very, very short.
Very short. I need to answer to you because Romania is actually building this kind of institution through the Recovery and Resilience Plan. We will establish a Center of Excellence in Sustainable Development, and the role of this center will be exactly what you described right now, and that center will have a regional network in every of the 8 regions. One university will take the lead for the work that will be done at the level of the region. So yes, indeed, it's needed this kind of institution to create, it will be a research, capacity building, knowledge hub, and data collection. So advice for policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now from the furthest west of the Danube, so from Baden-Württemberg, we go to the furthest east, so the Republic of Moldova. And last but not least, because the people will always remember what the last says. So Simeon, it's now we welcome you from, and also we welcome very high participation from the Republic of Moldova. Welcome, and this is, I think, the participation is a result of your recent, interventions of the UNDP there. And because we have come to clusters, and so, what's the UNDP in Moldova doing on these SDGs? Some examples, and also how do you see the clusters, in development in the.
Thank you very much, and actually. When you are listening all these experiences, you have to say a lot, and it's very difficult to put in only a few minutes. Actually, I would like to mention, first of all, that the UN is acting around 30 years in the Republic of Moldova, helping in developing actually all these major strategic documents. Even now, the Moldovan Sustainable Strategy for 2030 was elaborated by us, and it's already approved. And but I will try to focus my speech on some issues that everyone knows about, what are the major problems, and sometimes we are not doing exactly what it is right. Everyone was knowing that Transnistria and the conflict there for 30 years was a threat, and now came when the war in Ukraine began, that what is the real problem. Everybody, the joke, who is responsible for the digitalization in your company, your manager or the IT, and in the end was the COVID pandemic, who imposed us the need to be online with is necessary actually. And from this point of view, Moldova is tackling another huge problem, is the energy crisis. With more than 90% we are importing, so the dependency of the Russian gas and electricity showed up that everything what we have done for 30 years was not enough. And the UNDP is actually every time trying to close this type of gaps. Even now we have a 10 million project funded by EU in order to address the impact of the energy crisis in Moldova. Now we developed, helped our government to develop the compensation mechanism for this winter time. Also, we will have another module on like you have in Romanian Rabla program. Also, we would like to have it on household appliances. So every time a crisis is arising, we need to act, and everything. Now it is very popular to say this type of words like resilient programs. And this is, I guess, is very important. What we will learn from everything what we are facing now, and what we will do in the future, and how government will address and undertake all these issues. If you speak about the biomass, having into consideration that Moldova is such dependent on the energy sources, we have a program financed by EU and installed more 200 biomass boilers. We developed all the infrastructure, but we forgot about the raw material. And this is my question, that the government should, when you are looking in a major problem, you need to tackle another dimension. So this is actually what we are trying to do, and we will like in the end to say that we manage and we train our local authorities and the central government, to develop by their own all this type of documents. But we are also trying to address all these issues and to develop at the local level. It is very important when you have a developed anti-corruption plan on the national level to try to implement in the regions, and some of our programs are doing exactly this thing. I'm representing a EU project, 25 million project, which is trying to address those strategic infrastructure problems, but also development of the businesses on the two focal regions. It's called Cahul and Ungheni. And we're trying to help not only the local authorities, but also businesses. We have representatives from 4 clusters actually here, and it is the first time in Moldova when we created the clusters, and we are also coming with a financial support of 100,000 euros per each. And we are working with our government in order to transpose this pilot project which we developed with you also together, to make it as a national strategy to be financed and undertaken by our government. So these are the main things that I was trying to mention, and please.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, our clusters dream of having 100,000 euro given, yeah? So we have managed without this 100,000, so we are very lucky to have the UNDP to give you 100,000 euro, 100,000 euro. And yeah, and what to, yeah, and as a, yeah, very short. What must be done more? I mean, you have heard, yeah, what must be done more?
Yeah, taking into consideration the world we are living, everyone was saying about the competitive advantage. You know, it is very important to develop and to map exactly those areas in that you feel and you're good enough. And for Moldova, when we are speaking about wines, grapes, we speak about tourism. I mean, we have heritage UNESCO from 2018, the Prut Biosphere region. So before starting to finance and to help, it is very important to understand what and how, and to develop concrete supporting mechanism with a clear criteria, with clear outputs, monitoring and evaluation, and post-implementation mechanisms. And actually, this thing we are trying to find out also. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much to all our panelists, and yes, we managed to catch up 10 minutes. So this don't raise up yet. Don't raise up, because we have now a moment. Because okay, it will after. So we have a moment of a signing of a partnership between. I invite Mrs. Coman to tell us more about it.
Okay, so good news, lunch in 10 minutes, but until then, I invite you to be witness for a festive moment. My name is Gabriela Coman. I'm the local coordinator of Enterprise Europe Network, which is, for those who don't know, the largest business network in the entire world. Business network in the entire world. Since 2008, the network has been supporting innovative companies to grow and to innovate internationally. So in this context, I am very honored and proud to present the crowning of the work of my colleagues from afaceri.ro for the last few months, the signing of Memorandum of Understanding between Albania and Romania, represented by the Regional Development Agency of Tirana and the Archipelago from Iași.
Yes.
So in your applause,
yes, and I would like
invite
to
Mr. Ili Rembec.
We would like to applaud again our panelists. Yes, thank you very much for this. And we can retire, and let's invite our...
I invite Mr. Ili Rembec and Mr. Marius Alexa to sign this memorandum and tell us in a few words what this means.
Before, yeah, okay. So now we have lunch. I think we should come back. We try to come back at the foreseen time. We have now, let's try to make it until 3 o'clock. Yes, at 3 o'clock